Hey, what's up, everybody? I got a few people joining us here momentarily. We are going to be watching the Falcons and Cowboys preseason game number 3. Now, bear with me while I work out some technical stuff. I got to go ahead and add my guy, Kyle, who's in the house. What's going on, Kyle? Say hi to everybody. I don't have his video up on here. I am loading that as we speak, so bear with me. But he is here. I'll also have Irene joining us. So anybody who's a storyliner knows who Irene is. And then also my guy EJ Savage may be joining us in about an hour or so. So let's see if this pulls Kyle's video up. It should. There he is. Look at that. Sweet beard, sweet hair, and jacked.
There Happy game day. Let's go. Let's do it.
How you doing, bro?
Good, good. Big game for Jaden Blue, obviously, and Mozzie. Some key players. I think the list of players came out recently that are not going to be playing tonight, so that's kind of telling on who's going to be on the final roster. And Mozzie playing tonight is pretty telling. I think it's pretty much an audition game for him tonight. So I'm going to be watching him a lot.
100%. Now I'm sharing my screen with you. Hopefully you can see what's up there. Sweet.
Perfect.
All right.
And happy birthday to Bill Parcells.
Today. Oh, that's what's up. Big tuna.
Right.
Big tuna. That's what's up. Man, we could have had some good years with him. I think that from what I heard, that game just crushed him. That was the end for him with the field goal hold fiasco.
If he coached that 07 team, I mean, they probably win that game against the Giants. Who knows what happens, but that's
yeah. And all Patrick Creighton had to do was just run his route at the end of the game. We're fine. We're fine.
There were 2 times where he made a big drop and he ran the wrong route at the end of the game. But yeah.
That's what's up, dude. Yep. William, what's going on? Good to have you here, bro. Glad you're able to join us tonight. There's AT&T Stadium.
I'm gonna head to my game room so the cats don't get in the way.
Oh, you're good.
Good. So any thoughts on Jerry's pregame comments? I know we talked about the defensive end depth and things of that nature. Anything that kind of jumps out to you?
Yeah, so I didn't see what Jerry said, but you were telling me that he said basically they're pretty much set at defensive end if Micah's not around week 1. And
best depth on the roster, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they got good depth. It's one of the positions on defense that they're probably, let me turn this volume off, that they're probably deepest at on defense, linebacker and defensive end. But without Micah, I mean, that's a huge loss at that point. So I'd rather have Micah there than not, for sure. So we'll see if he's there or not. What do you think? How do you feel about that room?
I feel like, I mean, I do think Micah's going to play. I mean, money talks at the end of the day. I think he, what is it, 24 million he's set to make this year for the 5th year option, something like that.
Yep, that's exactly right.
So I get the feeling that they're just playing Micah's hand a little bit. But if he doesn't somehow play the game, I think maybe James Houston has a pretty good chance of making this roster. Guys like that on the fringe that maybe might not make the roster if Micah does play. So who knows?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think James Houston is a name to look out for, and I'm assuming he's probably playing tonight. He's a guy doesn't have a ton in the run game, but as a pass rusher, he's been good since his time in the NFL. So could be a rotational guy on that front for sure. And he's making a strong push to make this roster, I think.
For sure. I'll throw out some names here that are playing tonight. Mozzie, obviously. Leo Faust playing. Wanye Thomas and Nate Thomas. So maybe getting some more work for Nate if he is going to, I guess get thrown into the gauntlet for week 1. But I kind of like what he's doing right now.
Yeah, Nate's got to get more work for sure. If he's going to be out there with Guyton hurt, I think Nate Thomas, he's got to get as much work. Don't save him. Get as much work as you can because he's going to have his hands full in week 1 if he is playing. So get him all the work. I do want to see Wanye. You mentioned Wanye Thomas, and that's a guy who I think is on the cusp of being a potential NFL starter. So I'd like to see more of Wanye, and I believe he's in a contract year as well. So want to see more of him, especially this season. I'm excited for him as well. Blue making his debut. Dying to see some Blue on the field. Jadon Blue. The running back room is kind of a mess right now as far as our expectations. I think it's clear that Javonte Williams is your number one. After that, we don't know. Miles Sanders is hurt. He's not playing tonight. So I think he's probably just about done. So that leaves, who does that leave? That leaves Maffa and Blue. And I mean, that's really probably it at that point, right? Because I don't think Deuce will be around. So that looks like that might be your running back room if they keep 3 backs plus Lipke. They might not keep 3 backs plus Lipke. They might keep only the 2 in Lipke. It just depends on, I think, what Maffa can offer from a special team standpoint at that point.
If there's a game that is not going to be in the hands of Joe Milton a lot, I think it's tonight, because I think they really want to see what Blue does. Obviously not in just the running game, but in the short passing game, screen game, things like that. I don't think you want to expose too much in the preseason, but he needs the work. He hasn't been out there. So I think you have to give him some serious time tonight, because he's not going to start out in the season getting a ton of carries or opportunities, at least you would think, with Javonte, being the starter at the beginning. Now we get to week 6, week 7, week 8, maybe those carries are split a little differently, but I think he needs to get the work for the missed time in training camp.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And speaking of not getting a lot of work on Milton's front, I think Milton is a guy who obviously needs a lot of development, unfortunately, at this point. We really need to know what these receivers have with his injury to Mingo. And unfortunately, Milton's not doing these guys any favors. They're going to judge these guys based on the routes. They're going to watch the tape like, hey, this guy won. But at the end of the day, can you catch the ball after winning your route? Winning your route, your step one. Can you catch the ball? And then what can you do once you have the ball in your hands? So they're missing 2/3 of the equation by having Milton out there and not Greer. But it looks like they're probably going to keep rolling with Milton to see what he can do and if they want to keep him on the roster as QB3.
Yeah, what do you think they're going to do at quarterback in terms of game day roster? Do you think they're going to, first of all, carry Greer? I think Milton's a shoo-in to make the roster, but do you think they would just have Greer as the 2 and have Milton as like the emergency 3? Or
yeah, 100%. I think you're dumb if you don't carry 3 quarterbacks on the roster at this point, just because of the emergency quarterback rule. So it doesn't count towards your game day. So I think it's going to be Greer, unless there's a guy that gets cut somewhere they bring in or something happens that we just can't foresee at this point. But as of right now, it's got to be Greer at QB2.
Agreed.
All right, so it looks like Irene's having some computer problems, so I'm not sure if she will be joining us, but we will have, I believe, my guy EJ Savage joining at about 8:30 to 9 o'clock Eastern. So keep an eye out for him. He should be with us. All right, so game's about to start. I'm going to go ahead and pop this on. Falcons get the ball first. You should be able to hear a little bit of audio. I've got to kind of minimize there for us, but we should hear something. So
obviously it's not a lot to take away from this game from Atlanta's standpoint, but they hit defense early in the draft. Obviously their defensive line was one of the worst last year, so they'll be an intriguing team in a division that you have to think Tampa is the favorite, but that could change on a year-to-year basis with them having Penix, having another year under his belt with full training camp as a starter. So they're an intriguing team to watch this year too.
Yeah, I agree. And what I'm interested in watching right here is this guy on the screen that we're looking at right here, Mr. Mozzie Smith. He's a big-time question mark for what he's going to do this season. And at one play, he'll take on a double team and anchor. The next play, he'll penetrate. The next play, he'll be 7 yards, back in the linebacker's laps. He's just very hit or miss and inconsistent against backups at this point. So that was a drop, a little swing pass to the running back, and a straight-up drop in the flat. So about to be 3rd and 7, Atlanta's ball. I do this little thing on my stream where I have a scoreboard and a little football I switch back and forth depending on who has the ball. Nice. But it's all manual, and I forget to do it half the time, so I'm still learning on that front. There you go. Shamar James, too, that's a guy that has really flashed. He looks like he plays with a lot of speed. Obviously playing against backups in this preseason, but he's a guy that might develop at some point into an actual player on this team.
For sure. Yeah, I'm pretty intrigued by and optimistic about the draft class this year. They really had to hit this year based on what had happened the past few years. And even those later round picks that we really haven't hit on very well in recent time. I think this is one of those drafts that we're going to look back on and say they finally got a good one in 2025.
I 100% agree. Hey, Miss Felony Strutter and Rick, what's going on, y'all? The last stand of Mozzie. Yeah, you're 100% right. This is, I think, Mozzie's last stand. So, hey.
There she is.
Is that Irene? That's Irene. What's going on, Irene? Okay. All right, I'm going to pop you back in here then. Let's see. I'm going to get your thoughts on some stuff here in just a second once I get this technical stuff worked out. I can see on the, yeah, I'll have you up here. All right, you're on my my stream now. You're up. So that's cool.
Hello.
Hello. So what are your thoughts on Mozzie Smith? Let's keep the Mozzie discussion going on here. What do you think about Mr. Smith?
Oh, Mozzie. I feel bad for him. I think he's mentally wrecked at this point, unfortunately. But we'll keep him around because I don't think we have guys unless they find somebody else's cut and put him in there. But I think he'll still be here for the year.
That's
Hey,
Mr.
that was
Houston,
nice.
yeah?
Houston? Who's that?
That's Houston.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's a guy I'd like to talk about because I don't want him cut, but I know that the defensive ends are, that's where we have a lot of guys.
Well, here's the thing, too, is if Micah shows up week 1, I think we all believe he'll show up week 1 because he doesn't want to miss his money. He's going to be on a pitch count anyways, so you might have to keep an extra defensive end regardless, or an edge player regardless, and it might be James Houston, who's, regardless of if Micah's here or not, he, I think, has earned himself a roster spot this preseason.
I hope so.
6'1", 250 I saw there, or 241. So he's definitely undersized, but in terms of like a pass rushing specialist that you need on third down, if Micah decides to hold that for a few games or whatever happens, he's a guy that can give you a little something. He's not going to replace what Micah does, obviously, but you're going to need some pressure when you get on third down.
Right. 100%. Yep. A little NASCAR package.
Easton Stick. He was with the Chargers last year, right? I think so.
Sounds right.
Felony says, remember, Sam Williams was trash in 2023. That's harsh. That is harsh.
Wow.
Nice pass rush again by
Did he
Houston. And pick. Oh, it should have been a pick.
Oh, man.
It's all right. What is that? Keemon.
So who wins the Keemon Hall of Zion Childress battle?
I don't know.
It's weird. On the depth chart, they have Hall listed as a starter and Childress behind him. But, I mean, I think you guys would agree Childress has played better in the preseason and showed more in camp, too.
Yeah, and the holistic view, I'm not sure who's played better within the confines of camp and the preseason, all of it combined. I mean, they got to be neck and neck, but I think a fan favorite would be Childress from our standpoint. And he missed the field goal.
Nice.
All right, 0-0, Cowboys ball. Now, I'm curious to see how much time my favorite player of all time, Deuce Vaughn, is going to get tonight. Just kidding. He's not my favorite, but I do like Deuce. I don't know. He probably shouldn't get much tonight because he's not making this roster, so they should probably cut their losses at this point. But it looks like he's suited up and he's going in. So I guess screw me. And
I was going to say. Schottenheimer mentioned him.
Oh, did he? What did he say about Deuce?
Well, he said he would play tonight in the pregame show.
Okay.
But he listed also, he said Maffa would play, Blue would play, and Miles Davis.
I mean, I don't know what they need to see out of Deuce.
Oh, boy.
Miles Davis?
Yeah, sorry.
That's it.
All right.
Not Miles.
What's
Malik Davis? Malik Davis.
Yeah, you got two different names combined there. Two different players.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, Miles is out. Apparently, he had a setback this week.
Yeah, so he'll be.
He's dead and all.
Jesus. Milton already said Milton going first 3+. Rick, no winners yet. William Hall. Yeah, Hall should have had that interception. Yeah, that was a pretty easy one, I think. It's unfortunate, but that actually was a bad throw forced by our favorite guy, James Houston. A nice bull rush off the edge there, right into the quarterback.
I mean, that's what you want to see against backup players. You want a flash in this last preseason game, and he's already doing that in the first drive. So, that's catching the eye of the coaching staff and obviously the general management as well. So I think he's just going to make this game.
Felony, Milton's saying the first 3 quarters is what the Cowboys said Milton will be getting tonight. So, yeah, screw wide receiver evaluation. We're going with the QB eval tonight.
So Schottenheimer talked about Milton, and he did mention, I can't remember if we talked about it in the space last night or somewhere else, but he said he should use his legs a little bit more. So I do think that got in his head, you don't run immediately, try to do your reads. And I think he stopped playing like himself a little bit the last 2 weeks. So we'll see.
That's what happens
that
sometimes
helps.
with these mobile young quarterbacks is they get coached up out of their comfortability, and they forget to do what they're best at doing. We saw it with Dak too in his second season. It was like he was thinking too much, not just playing football. And that's just what happens with these guys. So you see Milton's best throws when he's like scrambling out of the pocket off his back foot, launching that thing. And I don't want to see him launching it necessarily, but let's see him play with a little more instincts and less brain power.
Yeah.
Houston and Wheat have shown more than Williams. I like if you're talking about Sam Williams, I'm assuming I like Sam Williams. He makes some boneheaded plays here and there, but I think he has a lot of upside potential, and he also provides some work on special teams as well. So I think he's a solid player that needs to smarten up in key moments. All right, Deuce is starting the game at running back,
as we all predicted. What are they doing with Blue? Come on. Give me Blue.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to see Deuce just like bust a 50-yard touchdown or something crazy, make a guy miss in the secondary. That'd be sick. I feel so bad for the guy because he has not played really well this offseason, right? This preseason, he was hurt in training camp. He had a couple of really nice blitz pickups and a couple of nice runs last week, but he also had a couple of goofy looking runs, which you would get with Deuce Vaughn just because he's so small. And he's a guy that last year I didn't think got enough time to play, especially considering what we had going on in the backfield. So I would really like to see Deuce put some good tape on the screen here, but that's not going to do it right there. Tackle for a gain of 1.
I feel like Deuce would have been such a good player like 15 years ago when Darren Sproles was in the league, and they were kind of using those scat backs out of the backfield, and it just doesn't fit today's NFL, unfortunately.
We saw Deuce in person there at camp, and his legs are surprisingly thick. I didn't think he had really like tree trunk type legs, but he's got some thick legs, man. He's a pretty strong guy for his size, and he wins the leverage battle every time too.
There you go.
There's Milton.
Just like you said.
And right on cue. Milton, thank you. Oh.
I know Milton has been pretty poor this preseason, but they've been so bad on first and second down during these last 2 games, and it's just put him in these situations where he has to convert every time on third down. How about getting 7-8 yards on first down, with running play and making it easy for him? And let's see if they can get that going here.
There you go.
That's what we need. That's how we use them.
That's how we use the Deuce Meister right there. Beautiful run.
Send him on a wheel route too, like something. Not, hey, run up the middle.
I just feel like it's so hard. Now, I will say in practice, I don't know if y'all saw the wheel route that Deuce ran. He had a nice over-the-shoulder catch, but it's like the defender was like 2 feet taller than him. It looked like it's a hard ball to complete when you have to dip it over the guy's shoulder and into this tiny little target. You know what I mean? He's a tough guy to throw a ball to outside of the backfield.
Get him on the perimeter, man. I mean, that's where he's going to be best. And
nice throw.
Honestly, last year, maybe they didn't have the athleticism on the right side of the line to run more perimeter runs with Zach Martin always hurt and, Steele kind of banged up too. So maybe they feel like they can do that with this youth movement on the offensive line now.
Right. Yeah. Felony says, Deuce is a waste of time. It hurts me to say, but I don't think he's making this team, so I don't disagree with you necessarily, as harsh as that sounds.
I get that.
I do love me Deuce.
Well, it's sort of his time has passed.
So it's interesting that Flanoy and Brooks are both playing tonight. Do you think they're competing for a roster spot here? I know that they're going to pretty much try to stash Holden on the practice squad. I don't know what you guys think about that, but are they kind of competing together versus each other?
Go ahead, Irene, if you want to take that one.
I think that would make sense, right? Because we know our top 4 really, and then Mingo. I guess do we know his injury's not that bad, right? So he'll probably make the team. And then I would say
Right
the
in the
last 2
nuts.
would be Flanoy.
Yeah, I agree. It's Brooks and
Brooks.
I think Brooks and Flournoy probably make the team both to start the season if they keep 6 receivers with Mingo out for, what was it, 3 to 4 weeks? I think they said, right?
Yeah.
But he has to make it for at least a day, right? Or
I'm not
not
sure
true?
how that works. I think he can start the season on a temporary injured reserve type thing, and then they can take him off in week 4. I think that is how the rule works.
And then there's a 21-day practice window that they have to be activated to the roster.
Got you.
That's who they did that with last
Nice,
year.
Deuce. Nice,
Okay,
Deuce.
look at this.
RB1, Deuce Vaughn.
Okay,
Let's
so do you
go.
think that this is doing Chris Vaughn a solid here? Is, hey, get him some tape?
I hate that so much because it takes away everything from Deuce.
Okay, but do you think that's what they're doing?
No.
Okay.
Wait,
But why
hang
start
on.
him?
Hang on. You said Chris Vaughn?
Yeah,
Is that his dad?
his dad.
Scout,
Okay.
was it the Scout?
Yeah.
Scout, right?
Yeah. It is. I want to make sure I
Wait,
have the
who
name
did you
right.
think I was saying?
Well, no, I thought you said Chris, but then I questioned myself. I was like, wait, did she say Deuce to try to do Deuce a favor? I was like, well, yeah, they're doing Deuce a favor in that scenario. But with the whole his dad stuff, they wouldn't have wasted a pick for a nice feel good story with Chris. I mean, come on, like that. I hate that line of.
I agree with that.
And
I agree with that.
Not coming at you, Irene. People say it sometimes, and I'm like, Deuce was a really, really good college player, and he doesn't really fit the mold of your prototypical NFL player. But I do see a potential role for him somewhere on a team that wants to use him the correct way as like a running back 3 who gets like 5 touches a game. Like I could see that role for him. Outside of
Kansas City, Baltimore, yeah, me too.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to come in hot at you, Irene.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I was just my point was I wonder why he's starting, I guess, as opposed to having Blue start and then
maybe there's something they see with Deuce too. That I mean, they said there's gonna be some surprises. I mean, I don't think so, but do you think he's actually fighting for a roster spot, or do you think he's done?
It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, maybe they know what Blue is and they just want to give Vaughn, like you said, some tape for other teams. But it doesn't really make sense to me. You'd think that you want to get him fresh in the game, at least get him with Milton, because Greer's going to play the 4th quarter, right? So maybe they give Vaughn the 1st quarter and then they put Blue in for the 2nd and 3rd quarter and then go from there. But it's hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, Blue is the bigger version of Deuce. He's your fast, your shifty guy, your speed guy. He does everything that Deuce does, but in a bigger body. I'm assuming he's just as quick. I mean, I haven't seen him in live action, so I don't know. But I'm assuming he does everything Deuce does in a bigger body. So yeah, it's too much redundancy. And if you have a backfield by committee, which is what they're going to have, you can't have redundancy. You got different style backs. So I don't see Deuce making it.
Yeah.
Yeah, William, Deuce has looked good so far. Hopefully he can go somewhere that'll play him. Rick says there's 2 IR spots before 53 roster selection, like Brevin, Spanford, and Sanders IR to return. Once on roster, they can move injured players to IR. You then can add other players after 1 day. So basically just a bunch of gamesmanship to shape this how you want to shape it.
So Rick, I reached out to Rick earlier and told him I liked his call because it was focusing on roster, our practice squad, and I like how he still knows. He's been thinking about this practice squad and roster building a lot this week. I love it.
Nice run by Deuce there on the perimeter. The little option looked like by Milton. Hands it to Deuce. That was some good speed there, beating that the DB. Oh, he had 83 wide open, but he's going to run it in. All right, smart play. Could have had an easy pass to Brooks, but run it in. Why not?
A read option in the red zone. I can't remember the last time the Cowboys did that, even if it is
right.
Game, so that's encouraging.
Yeah, Jeremy, Deuce is looking good so far. I just selfishly because I enjoy watching him play. I think I was always the small guy, even in high school football. I'm 5'8", 150 now, but I was like 5'7", 130 back then. I didn't really start doing anything until late senior year. But anyways, I was always a small guy, so I think Deuce being the small guy in the NFL, it just personally, it hits me in the feels. I don't know. I enjoy watching him play, so it's nice to see him play well. Felony says Miss Felony Shredder says the roster backs are Blue, Williams, Moffa, and Lipke. Rick first drive TD. Yeah.
Oh
Deuce
no! Did you
makes
see
his
what she
debut.
said?
Deuce makes his debut on the Players Lounge.
That is cool.
Hey,
David in the chat. Love to see him hit Brooks for that TD. Hit points or points, but points or points. How about Deuce? Yeah, let's go Deuce. Yeah, I was saying the same thing. He had an easy throw to Brooks, but I mean, it's a guaranteed touchdown run. Just run it in at that point. That's fine.
yeah, I'm
Got
cool with
nothing to
that.
prove. Well, actually, he does have something. He's got a lot to prove. We're being honest, but take the points.
I mean, it's just nice to see an opening drive touchdown. It just kind of sets the tone for the game. We've had these slow starts that obviously went back to the McCarthy era, it seemed like, but getting that early score really does set the tone and gives players confidence throughout the game, keep things going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, regardless of if it's preseason or not, it doesn't make a difference. All these guys want to play and win. Yeah, they're competing individually for roster spots here or somewhere else, but at the end of the day, they're playing the game and they want to win the game. Let's see. Cowboys score 7. Update my little scoreboard here. 7 points. That's the earliest I've updated this all preseason. All right. David, I can't hear anything, but wanted to show my love. My son is having a blast. That's sick that you've got your kid there with you, David. You're raising him to be a lifelong Cowboys fan. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but
A disappointed fan.
shout out.
We love it.
Shout out to that. David, thanks for the dono, David. I appreciate it. I think I set my stickers up right, brother. I don't know, though. I thought I did, but I'm not seeing the alert pop up. I still got to work on that.
Oh, I see a sticker. It's
Oh, do
a
you?
cat.
It should be a dog. A Shiba dog.
She's
And Kyle's got a cat, too. But it's not a sticker. It's a real cat.
watching the game.
Oh, well, I see a cat going like this.
Okay, yep. That's so weird that it shows on your thing, but not on mine. All right, I got to figure that out.
So funny.
That's cool, though. That's cool. I'm glad it shows.
Sue, when you get a chance, let us know where you're sitting in comparison to that touchdown.
Irene, was that thing showing in the top right? The cat dog thing? The
No, I see it in the chat.
Oh, you see in the chat? Okay.
It's like,
all right.
yeah, it's like a big blue thing with a bobbing head.
All right. We're going to get that resolved some point in time.
That drive, I bet, was pretty big for Milton's confidence. He seems to be just a naturally confident guy in his game overall, but when you go 2 games playing the way he did, I think he just needed a drive like that to gain some confidence back.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's a big thing with a young player. Hasn't really done it before, so yeah, confidence is a big deal. Glad to see him do that. Hey, everybody in the YouTube, I would appreciate it very much if you all could hit that like button so it goes into the algorithm and spreads out for some more people to come and watch. I appreciate you all joining. If you can, hit that like button. Be a big deal to me. Thank you. All right, Falcons got the ball back. I'm going to switch my little ball over. There you go. It's so fun to me. Do that. And they line up single back. Got a man in motion. Right up the middle.
It's going to be the key to the Cowboys season, at least defensively this year. If they can hold teams to minimal yardage on first and second down, let those pass rushers eat, that's going to make it a lot easier. Keep them fresh, get the offense more opportunities with the ball. So I think that's the overall key to this team this year is early down run success on defense and offense as well, but mainly defense just because how shaky the run defense has been in breaking that rate.
It's going to be interesting to see how the Eagles attack them in week 1. Here's a pass. Nice hit.
Mm.
Is that Mukwamu? Mukwamu.
He's having a nice end of the camp.
He is. He got picked on all camp, but in these games, he's not playing bad. He might be a
Right.
gamer. It might be a gamer. But I was going to say, it's going to be interesting to see how the Eagles attack this defense in the first game because they're going to be hurt at cornerback. So cornerbacks, basically 3 through whatever, are very questionable. But also, the interior of the defensive line is extremely questionable. And so, are the Eagles going to want to run the ball? They want to pass the ball? Are they going to be able to do both at will? I'm very curious to see what the Eagles do to open up the season.
Definitely. And I'm also curious to see what Shoddy's game script is going to be. First time as a head coach, those first 10 to 15 plays. We haven't seen a lot in the preseason. They're hiding a lot. I want to see some wrinkles, some new wrinkles in this offense. You guys were at camp, so maybe you saw some of that stuff, but that's going to really be telling to me the way he kind of game plans and how he tries to attack the Eagles early.
100%, yep.
Yeah, I wish I could describe some of the. I don't know if I want to give it away because so many people are going to be watching this for Cowboys, game plan. But I saw a few packages. It involved a little bit of motion, but just the had Ferguson. It had the top 3 receivers, of course, and including Tolbert in that, not Turpin, and Lipke. Lipke seems to be important to even setting up some passes. But we haven't seen it in the game, so.
3rd and 1. Mozzie Smith. There you go, big Moz.
Wow.
Okay. That's
Best play of Mozzie's career.
There it is.
That's the highlight right there. Save that one.
So in about 3 seconds, I want you guys to go to Twitter and look at all the content creators that are going to say, I freaking told you so.
I told
Mozzie
you.
Smith is the best. Well, he got untouched there, so of course he had a great play. That was a screw up by the offensive line.
Yeah.
Someone forgot about him, but we'll give him credit.
Yeah, forgot about him. No.
Mozzie went Bozzie. Yeah.
Do you know what Isaiah said?
That's kind of what he did at college. I mean, he depended on his explosiveness. He was a pretty good 3-tech, and I know the Cowboys early on tried to use him as a more of a run stuffing 1-tech, and it just didn't work out. So we'll see if this defensive scheme with Eberflus helps to kind of maximize that a little bit more, but I don't know.
Yeah. This is do or die for Mozzie, at least with the Cowboys. He'll get an opportunity somewhere else, undoubtedly, if not here after this year. But if he has a great season, then that's going to be interesting if he has a really good season, or at least in a very much improved season. That'd be great, but just serviceable. It'll be interesting to see what he'll do next season, since he'll be a free agent.
You think like Bengals break will be like former 1st-round pick we picked up in the free agency?
Yeah, somebody will be excited, not knowing what they're getting excited for. But somebody will be a former 1st-round pick. I know, think of what we do, right, with some of these guys that come in. Same thing. So, hey, what's up, Zach? How you doing tonight, buddy? Mozzie breakout season. I'll say question mark. He's asking the question, not making a statement. Yeah, Mozzie breakout season, maybe. We got a long way to go.
Miss Felony. Now do it again.
Make sure the offensive line forgets about you again. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Easiest path to success.
Do it against Cam Jurgens week 1, and then I'll start to.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Has Solomon Thomas played at all in the preseason? Did he play in the first game a little?
I don't think so.
I don't think he did, right?
I don't think so.
I want to know where they're. I mean, I think they're playing him inside more than. But he's more of a 3-tech, right?
Definitely.
Like everybody else on our.
The only really 1-tech they have, I think, is Toia. That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Toia has looked good too, and for a rookie.
Active tonight?
Say that again.
Is Winfrey active tonight? Winfrey?
I believe I saw him out there. Yeah, on this last drive. Yeah, I would be surprised if he wasn't, but I think he'll make the team too. I mean, he's played well. It gets tough on the defensive line and the interior because you're going to have guys that haven't even played that obviously are going to be on the roster. And then, Winfrey's done well against backups, but can he do it against starters? I guess you don't know until you try it.
Yeah, going back to Solomon Thomas, I think, obviously good third down pass rusher, but that was probably more of a transitional help with the coaching staff on the defensive line. The defensive line coach had him in New York, and then kind of like what they did with Sanborn with the linebackers. So Cowboys have kind of had a history of doing that, getting some players from previous coaching regimes that come over to us to kind of help players learn the scheme a little bit easier, kind of like what Zimmer did last year with Booth. So maybe that's probably a big factor in how they got here.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We just saw Blue take his first NFL carry for about -4. So that was a really good start.
Good start.
He had about 4 guys unblocked in his face, though, to be fair.
Yep.
Not a great rep from the left side of the offensive line. Nice move. A Cropper? Or is that Flournoy?
Flournoy. Yeah.
Flournoy's got some shake to his game, man. I'm telling you. I mean, he hasn't
He's a
had a
big
lot
guy.
of opportunities with balls in his hands. But he's when he does have some yak potential.
I hate that the one play that comes to mind with Flournoy last year was that fumble that he had. I forget.
Yeah.
It was against Philly or something like that. But almost like he never got a lot of opportunities.
I mean, the season was already over by that point too. It was later in the year. It's like, okay, so give the guy another chance. What are we doing?
McCarthy, I didn't like that about him. I get the coaches don't want people to fumble, but he did the same thing with Lipke.
Nice throw and catch.
Ooh.
Fairweather.
Oh,
He's
they
had a
like
good
him.
preseason,
He's
too.
undrafted.
He's had a very nice preseason. Fairweather.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yep.
Think he'll be a practice squad guy, probably.
Yeah, I mean, there's too many tight ends. I don't think he'll make the roster, but he's had a very good preseason.
I know they were excited when they picked him up.
Maybe they can cut Schoonmaker for him.
There you go.
Everybody hates Schoonmaker, poor guy.
In concussion protocol, right? He should be good for Philly, though. Hopefully.
So nice that play counted.
Jeremy. Mozzie looks great when nobody blocks him. Yeah, it's very true. They're very pass heavy here. There's Flournoy with another catch.
All right.
I'm telling you, if Flournoy gets a chance to come out and play as like wide receiver 4, or even wide receiver 5, whatever it might be, he makes a couple of plays, he might find himself getting more action as the season goes on. And I think that really might be the case with him. I've liked him for, was this his second year? Whenever he came in, I was a very big fan of his, and I still am. So I'm rooting for the kid.
Yeah. I'm glad to see him doing well because I kind of gave up on him. I liked him too coming out. And then I was like, well, if they're not going to use him, I'm not going to think about him. Good for him.
Tolbert is trash and can't block. I always hear the garbage. Tolbert led us in touchdown catches, so someone had to.
Who wrote that?
Spot. Felony? Yeah, Felony. Can we run the ball, please? Yeah, they're very pass heavy right now. But, I mean, it's working. They're at the 15-yard line. There's another run by Blue, and he gets smoked at the line of scrimmage. Another missed block. This is what's tough, man. I mean, it's backups versus backups, but I feel like we constantly see our backups get smoked in the preseason on the offensive line.
Yeah.
This makes it hard
to evaluate a player like Blue when he's playing with third stringer players that really can't see what he can do with the starter. So unfortunately, he missed that time early on where he might have gotten a series with, BB at center, the game where Booker played. But
there you go.
Okay.
That's more like it. That's more like it.
That's a 5th round pick right there.
I want to see this guy. Say that again.
Who does he remind you of? Blue. You have like a comp for him?
Kind of Pollard, honestly. He's very much Pollard-esque, but I feel like he's a little more compact than Pollard, a little more solid than Pollard. But that's who he reminds me of, speed and agility-wise. How about you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Pollard's a good comp. I don't want to say Felix Jones, but I think that's going to kind of be his role in terms of change of pace back, get
That
him
should
in
have
the
been a false
screen
start.
game, quick passing game. And he's a much better receiver than Felix was. So I think
Felix Jones, I don't know what it was about the way he ran, but it always bothered me. I felt like it was too upright, and he always took on contact like in his chest and like upright. He just, he didn't have any bend ever.
No, just a straight line runner. I think Jerry just loved him because he went to Arkansas and he was like,
he was good for a couple of years, you know, but it's just he
He
just
was.
looked weird running the ball.
Yeah, I was gonna say my comp is Barry Sanders. I'm just kidding.
Sounds good
Off
to
that
me.
one run right there.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
PI.
Brooks.
I don't know if that was PI. I guess we got to see that one again, but they'll call it. The ref that was standing 2 feet away didn't throw the flag, but the one that was 15 feet away was like, yep, PI.
There it is, yeah.
Zachary says blue is Diet Tony Pollard. Yeah, Diet Tony Pollard.
Diet
Justice
Tony
for
Pollard.
Lance
Okay.
Dunbar.
I think Brooks had a few more plays with Dak last year. So I think you saw in practice Dak throwing some deep balls to Flanoy to kind of get more of a rapport with him in case they have to depend on both those guys at some point throughout the year. But, I mean, Brooks, he doesn't have the burst that Flanoy does, but he might be more of a dependable player, more consistent player.
That was also a terrible PI call as well. That was definitely not pass interference. He didn't have any sort of restricting movement or anything like that on the receiver. So
No, he
we
didn't.
lucked out in that call.
Did they just mess up like how they did that blocking?
I don't think so. I think the edge on the left side was supposed to get sucked in, and I think he snuffed it out. So I think it was just a good play by the edge there.
Okay.
Milton, smart play. Yes, yes.
All right, let's see. What is it? Second and goal? Okay.
Nice run. That was a
Oh,
tough
there we
run by
go.
Blue. That was a tough run by Blue. You like to see that because that's not his game. He's not a thumper like that, and he just bounced right off that guy right into the end zone. Good run by Blue.
First NFL touchdown, man. Good for
That's
you,
my
buddy.
boy, Blue. No Deuce Vaughn, though.
Watch how the narrative is going to change. Blue is going to be the guy. Everybody's going to be on his train after this game. Everybody's going to be screaming for him with as the starter. It's amazing how things could change week to week.
I think the linebacker for the Falcons, number 40, just got cut on that play. You meet the guy in the hole and then let him score. That's tough. Have you guys ever seen, and I'm going to knock on a bunch of wood, have you ever seen a kicker just as smooth as Aubrey? The way he actually kicks the ball, it just looks completely effortless. Even 50-yard field goals just look, not even because he makes them, but just his motion of his leg, it just looks effortless.
Billy Cundiff, bro.
It does.
100%.
Yeah.
No. Billy Cundiff. Those were the days, man.
Martin Gramatica, for sure.
Oof.
Do you remember when he got injured? Like, by celebrating? Luckily not when he was with the Cowboys, but it was with Tampa.
Remember that time he couldn't just throw one tiny, minuscule block to win the game for the Cowboys against the Seahawks?
Yes.
Wasn't that Cam Hamlin? Hamlin was involved in the play, I think, or somebody.
Yeah.
Oh, we signed him the next year. Just heartbreaking.
TD Blue looks good. Let's have Blue take a seat now. Cowboys 14-0.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks,
We're
Rick, for
good.
reminding me.
Maffa time.
See, I never
So we've had half a quarter for each, basically.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I wonder if they won't play him anymore. Because that is all I need to see.
But does he need more work, you think, going into the season is the question?
I mean,
he hasn't gotten
probably.
much.
I don't know. It's a running back.
Right.
I think you just need to hit. Just get hit a few times. Get up, get some game action, get up to game speed. But I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him get another series.
Yeah.
I'm excited about this girls flag football because I've got 3 daughters, and the one is 18. She's past getting interested in football and all that, but I'm trying with my 2 youngest to get them interested. And my middleest daughter, she's 6. and she's really, really good at sports, and she's really excited to play sports. And this girls flag football is really growing across the country, and the Cowboys have done a great job with making that more popular. Actually, when I went to tour the stadium, they were doing some big girls flag football event at the stadium, so that was kind of cool to see.
Cool.
Yep. Falcons completed
Yeah,
pass
flag
there,
football's
about 12
growing.
yards.
Both men and women, or girls and boys, I should say.
All right, so we got Toya in the game. I want to say, let's keep an eye on Toya and see it, because this is gonna be a run on first down here, guaranteed. Let's see.
Okay.
I said this is gonna be a run, and they wind up 5 wide. God, I'm stupid. Toya back in coverage. Oh, I thought he had a pick.
They zone blitzed. Are you kidding me?
I thought Toya had a pick.
That would have been awesome.
He jumped like he was going to make a play on the ball. He went about 2 inches off the ground, but it was fun to see.
You love to see
That's
it.
a different Clark, right?
I didn't see what Clark it was.
It was a number 38, but I think he's like,
Yeah, Clark is 18.
right?
Oh, the safety, Elijah Clark.
There you go.
Look at Toya in coverage. Oh, it's so beautiful.
They
Oh,
were like,
yeah.
Ooh, who hit him?
5 wide. Nope, he's dropping.
Oh. Who's the guy who hit him? Who's 91? Oh,
That's,
Wheat?
Tyra Sweet. He's
Yeah.
fighting for a spot, too.
Yeah, he is.
Ain't got to make it with penalties like that. All right, now we get to see.
Nope.
Let's watch Toya.
That was very Sam Williams right there. Just get a little extra.
There you go. Great play by Toya. Mozzie, too. Both of the interior guys did well on that play.
Hey, that's good. I'm actually not too against an early penalty like that. Like early in the game, set the tone, just get a little extra shot on the quarterback. I don't mind that, but then later on, you got to be smart about it. But if you can get in their head early, I'll take it.
It's tough to say because that's one of those immeasurable things. Like, is it a real thing? Is it not a real thing? But I think you're right. You razzle them a little bit, shake them up a little bit. Some quarterbacks get shaken up. Some quarterbacks brush it off like nothing happened.
Right.
Kind of like what Roy Williams, the safety, would do back in the day. You get that big hit early on, set the tone. They would not come across the middle anymore.
Yep. Get an alligator arms
exactly.
all game. Yeah, Felony. We saw Toya with on the drop back. That was sick. I want to see more of that. Let's get big man a pick 6.
He's like 340, right? 343 or something.
He's up there.
I wonder if he's going to lose some weight just by virtue of playing a lot. But because I think a lot of them lose weight. Remember when CeeDee Lamb lost like 15 pounds in a year?
Yep.
It was kind of
That's just
alarming.
what happens. Yeah, they stopped working out so heavily in the during the season, and they start losing weight just from all the cardio they're doing and all the work they're doing in the games.
Yep.
You know what's crazy? God forbid if Osa gets hurt this year, the guys that are in right now are pretty much your starters. I think they would slide Mozzie to the 3 and put Toya at the 1. And they're your starters right there. At least they're getting some experience playing together side by side.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah,
well, it's looking much better than the last 2 weeks, that's for sure.
William, I think we're all in agreement there. Because, wow, pleased with this game so far. This feels awkward. We're not used to this. I agree.
We're not.
Feels good though.
It's amazing what having, a drive that ends in a touchdown, or even like, let's say they marched it down and even got field goals. I mean, the last 2 games, it was just like 3 and out, 4 and out, 3 and out. You can't get in any rhythm on the other side. Like your defense is not going to hold up that long.
Yeah, and you just can't evaluate anybody. That's the whole point of the preseason. See what these guys can do.
I do wish they talked to Joe Milton about using his legs more last week, but
yeah,
better late than never, I guess.
Going. I agree.
He did that a lot with the limited time that he had starting for the Patriots last year. They pretty much just said, get out there and sling it, just play your game. I wonder if the coaching staff were coaching him a certain way these first few games, and he learned from those mistakes, and now they were kind of just more loose with, hey, if it's there, take off and run. You got the speed. I mean, he's electric in the open field, so it's good to see that early on.
Yeah, I think so. Because I know those early training camp clips were like nonstop him taking off and running. Oh, that's not ideal.
That was a nice quick throw. I think that's where Milton struggles, is in throws like that, where it's just step throw. It's where you're anticipating the receiver to be trusting the receiver. Has the arm to make up for some of his hesitation, but he doesn't do timing routes very well for the most part.
Yeah, that's true.
I think
you're like, I see him open. What are we doing?
You have kind of both ends of the spectrum oftentimes, where you have a guy that's really physically talented. Oh, nice. Houston again. Jeez.
Okay, Houston's making the team, which makes me happy.
Yeah, just take him out of the game at this point.
Everyone was cutting him. Even like big name people were doing their mocks, and they were like, we just can't get him on the team. We have so many other needs. Get him on the team, guys.
There's got to be somebody. There's got to be somebody you can move off.
It is so important in Eberflus' defense too, because he doesn't blitz a lot. So,
oh snap! Who did that?
Nice. Troy Pride.
Who's? Oh, okay, nice.
Is this the miscommunication on the offense there? You take it. Where you're supposed to be, make a play.
Yep.
I thought that was Orlando Scandrick for a second.
I know. When I saw 32.
32 with sleeves. Yep, that's Orlando Scandrick.
Wow.
I remember that fight between him and Mike. Was it Mike Jones, right? For CB1 or CB2 back then.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was fun. That was a fun fight.
I liked Scandrick. I mean, he was such a butthead, but
I never liked Scandrick.
I liked him as a player.
He talks too much smack for me.
He's
just kind of a jerk.
I liked him as a player, though.
Yeah. At one point, he had a few good years as a slot corner. He was pretty solid, very physical inside. Remember that game where he picked off Peyton Manning? I think it was the 2010 season or something like that. So, and then he went to Kansas City. He was faded away. But yeah.
He was J-Lou before J-Lou.
Yeah. Yeah, felony, third-string Falcons, much different than Ravens. Yeah, the Ravens, even their third-stringers look more put together. Looks like this looks like your classic preseason game here. Your classic final preseason week for the Falcons. I will say, though...
Team.
Go ahead, Kyle. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I think it's just good for the morale of the team. With all the distractions with Micah, losing the first two games, not competitive. I think they just needed to, be surrounded by some winning atmosphere, especially with a new head coach.
Yeah, and the big thing here is that Shoddy is asking for more, or demanding, I should say, more, less penalties, more focus, better results, more physicality. And I think so far, everything that Shoddy's saying he wanted to see in this last game, oh man.
Oh no.
That's awkward.
Well, just as you're talking about it. Boo.
Okay, so Falcons get the ball back, second down. They had 12 men in the field. So take everything I said, wrap it up, and throw it in the garbage. No, but for the most part so far, we have seen better results, better concentration, less penalties, all that stuff that Shoddy wanted so far up until that point. Now we'll see if
more
this
physical.
snowballs. We'll see if this snowballs into some more mistakes, or if that was it.
Wow.
That's a killer, though. That's what loses you games in the actual season, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're really good at timing those. Fourth and, or not fourth, maybe like 3rd and 18. Oh, illegal contact.
Yeah, felony. Honestly, Sam Williams, he's had some good plays. I couldn't name off the top of my head. He didn't even play last season, so my brain only works about a week at a time. So anything further back than that, it's Dunskies.
I think he had a blocked punt, and then he had some attempts at blocked punts that ended in penalties.
Again? Pride almost did it again.
Oh, good boy.
That was a tough ball, though, to catch. That was a duck, a big-time quacker.
Good pressure from the D-line. They're getting home pretty quickly.
As that, who is that?
Oh, see,
98.
that guy should have run off.
Should call timeout.
That was Winfrey on the pass rush there.
Okay, good.
Let's go. I'll look up his PFF grading last year. See what he did.
Gotta get those. All right, third down. Nice pass rush again. And too easy.
Darn. Gerald Sensabaugh out there.
We're old.
I'm not gonna learn these numbers until the actual roster is set. No, I know that's Hall, but
Yeah. No,
but there are
you know
so
what,
many
though? You're
people on
not-
the team.
Yeah, there's what, 90 something people? I mean, you're not
Yeah.
wrong. You're not wrong. It was easier when you have 4 preseason games because by the end of the third one, like you kind of know everybody, and then you can talk about it in the fourth one.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
I'm
because
really
you
looking
could
forward
cut
to
them
this guy.
in stages, right?
Right.
Hello.
Okay.
There you go. Anthony Brown with the tackle. Good job.
There's go. Let's go.
I think I see a 39 out there. I'm waiting for Brandon Carr to do something.
Yes. That poor man. The hate he got.
Classic expectations were a little bit too high, unrealistically, I think, for that guy.
I think he gave up like 3 touchdowns or something. I'm like, okay, he didn't do badly.
It's like the last big free agent the Cowboys signed. I was like,
Yeah.
I gotta move back 5 on the false
Well,
start.
besides Dak, I guess. Oh no, for you, I know what you mean. From another team. Okay.
So I want to ask you guys about left tackle. So Guyton being a young player, obviously him needing these reps in training camp, he was doing pretty well leading up to the injury. Nate Thomas seems like he's filled in pretty well. He's kind of an unknown at this point. Since Guyton is still young, doesn't have a lot of experience, it's still kind of raw. Would you kind of just roll with Thomas, or would you risk it and throw Guyton back out there, off the injury against the Eagles Thursday night? What's your gut?
It's tough.
For
we talked
me,
about this in our space, actually. Go ahead, Irene.
I worry less about the inexperience because Nate Thomas isn't, he's young too, right? He's from this year? I worry about Guyton's confidence though. So I don't know that I want to throw him out first game off injury, limited practice against that defensive line. And then the next week, of course, is the Giants, which, say what you will about them. They have a good defensive line too. So it would be tricky for me. I think I'm rolling with Nate Thomas until I get 2 solid weeks of practice from Guyton. But I don't love that.
Yeah, I agree. I think I said the same thing. Guyton, you saw his confidence erode last season about halfway through the year. Just all the penalties he had. Every play was a mess for him, and he was in and out of the lineup between injury and just getting pulled for poor performance. His confidence was gone. So I'd hate to have another year wasted. And if he has another bad year and his confidence is shot again, I mean that might be it for him until he can find a new home. I don't think he can survive a second year with his confidence shitting the bed. So yeah, I'd roll Nate Thomas week 1. Like, you better be sure Guyton really is ready before he goes in.
Give him a few weeks, let him play against Chicago or somebody like that. I think, and I could be wrong about this, but I feel like the Cowboys have gotten to the point to where they feel like a starting offensive lineman for their team needs to be someone that they got in the early rounds. Obviously, Steele is the exception to that rule. He was undrafted, but they've invested a lot with early round draft picks on the offensive line. Do you think a part of them are hesitant to just slide a Nate Thomas in there, who is, I think he was a 6th or 7th round pick 2 years ago with not a lot of experience? You get hit on those guys too in the later rounds. Even undrafted guys can come in and really be solid players. So you think maybe Nate Thomas is kind of changing that guard to where they feel more comfortable sliding somebody in there to be a starter that isn't a high draft pick?
Maybe. I can tell you week 1.
Yeah.
I can
You
tell
mean
you what
like
their
he
thoughts are.
would
Yeah.
take over?
Man, my boy Travis, he called it last year. He was like, "Watch out for Nate Thomas, whether it's guard or tackle. That guy can ball. He had injury problems in college, but if he stays healthy, he thought he could
Right.
develop into a solid starter, whether it was guard or tackle. Um, so yeah, I mean,
Okay.
Guyton, he has the draft status. Guyton does, but I wouldn't just hand the job. I don't think Guyton has shown enough just to hand him the job. I'd rather him compete and continue to develop as a player. I don't think handing him a starting job would help him in his development.
Yeah, I don't love what I saw from Guyton last year, but I also know he's a project guy. But you'd hope that his floor would have been higher than what you saw last year. At some point, if he plays poorly, could I see Thomas sliding in? Yeah, but I think Guyton, with his draft status, gets the benefit of the doubt, at least when he's ready to play this season. Then at some point, if he plays poorly, it is what it is. I think you got to throw the draft status stuff out the window and money out the window as a coach and looking to get your best players in the field. And I could see Nate Thomas playing again if Guyton plays poorly. But Guyton will get the nod at some point. It's just a matter of when he's ready.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, like you said, Thomas is an enigma, just like Guyton. Really, at this point, we haven't seen Thomas go up against a starting defensive line in his career yet. So it's a big question mark in general.
And you're right about Thomas and the injuries. This whole story on him is he could have been a higher pick, a mid-round guy. He could have been a good player, projected to go much higher if not for the injuries. So if he could stay healthy, he could be a good player.
I don't have any care about where someone's drafted. So if he is better than Guyton, cool. Let's go.
Unfortunately, money plays a role in it, which I hate, but
I
that's
know.
what it is.
Hey, best case scenario, maybe Steele's gone after this year. You get that cap back, you slide either Guyton or Thomas over to the right. You got your tackle duo for a few years, 3-4 years, who knows?
Yeah.
Yep.
William says, by the way, where's Travis? He's taking a break from Cowboys content stuff and online Twitter and all that. I think he's I don't think he said he's basically just taking a break with the team because he's not a big fan of the way it's run. So that's cool. Gotta do what you gotta do. Zach, am I crazy for not stressing about the preseason? I think the starting O is going to look okay. Starting D is an uphill battle regardless. I share the exact sentiment. Starting O, I think, is going to be one of the better units in the league, assuming that we can establish an actual run game. But this wide receiver room has me very happy, very excited about that. Defense, yikes. I'm not confident in the defense at all whatsoever. Offense is going to put up points.
Nope. Hey, I don't mind that throw right there because he actually just didn't have anybody open, just threw it away.
Jaden Blue back in.
Not 70 yards down the field where they could call a what do you call it? Intentional grounding.
Is that Holden's in the game, right? He's 7.
Holden, yep. Number 7, yep.
There we go.
So they're not afraid, it seems like, this coaching staff, to play the guys that they might be trying to stash on their practice squad.
Rick says Zeke retired today. Did he?
Oh, yeah, he did. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah. You see, I definitely cared to share that with you guys earlier.
Great job, Zeke. Great career. He did good for a few years. Now, I like Zeke for a while, but his personality kind of wore me thin after a while. And the last straw for me was missing meetings. Even if you're not playing well, which he was not playing well his last season here, you're brought in to be a leader of the running back room. You're late to meetings, missing meetings. Should have been cut right then and there, but McCarthy couldn't really do much that season.
Yeah.
I think that's a good example of a player, committed on the field, but not committed off the field from a mental and a physical standpoint. You look at a player like Derrick Henry, who spends all this money in the offseason to take care of his body, eat right, train right, all the above. And from what I've heard from some people, Zeke really didn't take that pretty seriously. He just kind of depended on his natural abilities. And at some point, with the shelf life of an NFL running back, it's not very long. Kind of catches up to you pretty quickly.
That's why I was such a big fan of Ashton Genty coming out of college here, because he has the Derrick Henry mentality of taking care of yourself off the field extremely rigorously, and that's why this dude's so jacked. But he takes care of himself. He's gonna have a long career, I think, unless something crazy happens. This guy's gonna have a long, productive career. And I'm waiting for Derrick Henry to fall off a cliff, but he never does. So he makes me look stupid every year.
He's like
So-
this Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. With Zeke, I do wish that. I mean, we had Tony Pollard. I don't know why we didn't not the every third series thing where they'd put him in, but they needed to spell Zeke a little bit more and not run him into the ground as much as they did.
Yeah, we
I
heard
know
every
it was
season that Pollard was going to
What's
get
that?
more action. We heard every season Pollard was going to get more action, and it was frustrating that it was a 70-30 split, if not even worse than that, in favor of Zeke every year until
Yeah, I think it was
Pollard was the
worse.
starter. I mean, it was terrible.
Yeah. No, there was no point in getting Pollard. Then they do this kind of thing a lot, though.
Yeah.
Garrett.
That's why.
To the ground.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm like, okay, if they only want to keep 2 running backs and Lipke, maybe that's better, because the way they, just keep people on and then don't use them.
Well, new coaching
the
staff,
guys you
we'll
wanna
see.
use.
We'll see what they do
Yeah.
here. But Garrett was notorious for going with what he knew. He was terrified of the unknown, even if it meant it was detrimental to the team. So we saw that a lot with Zeke. Felony, I appreciate you joining. This is your first time seeing the channel. Yeah, I appreciate that. But I appreciate however long you stick around. Yeah, appreciate it. And Rick, thanks for keeping the chat up to date here. Zach, they better let Blue and Maffa cook. I hope so. We all like Maffa. Do you guys all want Maffa on the final roster?
You want to take that first, Irene?
I did, but listening to to Nick's show yesterday, Cowboy storyline, hashtag no. I guess I'm okay with them getting to the practice squad. I would rather not waste as much on the running back, but yes, officially, I think I would like to see him. He looks like he runs well, but if we need to save a spot, like okay, we'll put it this way: I would rather have Houston than Maffa.
Okay.
That's fair.
Yeah, because go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, Maffa didn't get a lot of opportunities in the preseason, so I think it is a situation where they are trying to stash him, and I think it's good to have youth at running back, but I think they just want to have more of a mix of veteran experience and a little bit of youth with Blue. I still consider Lipke a younger player, so I think they want that mix. So I do think that they're going to try to sneak him off. Honestly, the perception right now in the NFL is that the Cowboys have the worst running back room in the league. So I don't know if a lot of other teams are going to be looking at the Cowboys saying, "Oh, we gotta grab this guy, from the practice squad and put him on our active roster." How many teams can put Maffa on their active roster right now as a running back? Probably not many.
Yeah, probably not.
That's a good point. It's a very fair point. And
Maybe
honestly,
Washington, just to fish this up.
With Maffa and Lipke, you have a bit of redundancy there. And we talked about redundancy earlier. You've already got a power guy in Lipke. You just got to make sure you use him. That's the problem. In the past, they haven't used him in that way.
I think they will. If they don't, I'm really going to be confused, because why would you speak about them glowingly in pressers and then, like I said, a couple of those good plays, good pass plays involved Lipke in the backfield. So I don't think you do all that and then don't use them, but we have seen it before.
And as much as I want to keep Maffa, I like Maffa a lot. I'm a fan of Maffa, and I have to go down and do my actual roster cuts before I can really speak to this to see what we have in certain positions. But if it's between like a Houston and a Maffa, or one of these cornerbacks and a Maffa, I just don't know how much Maffa will actually see the field with Williams and Blue and Lipke. So
right,
that's just one of those things. And I mean, will he make the actual active game day roster often? I don't think so.
No. And don't forget things like Turpin runs,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Maffa will be more one of those, I guess, surprise cuts that Schottenheimer was talking about.
Maybe.
And it could very well be that next year he's, Javante's not here anymore and he's, promoted or whatever you want to say.
I think it's also important with Dak coming off a serious injury to have a veteran back that has more experience with pass protection. And Blue, I don't think is that guy yet. So I think that's probably the main reason why they're starting out with Javonte as the starter. I guess right off the bat, they want a guy that's dependable, has been in the league for 2-3 years, can pass protect the quarterback, because they're going to be passing the ball a lot. I mean, this is the strength of this offense. It's passing offense.
Ooh,
Oh, nice tackle.
that was a beautiful. That was Clark, yeah. Yeah, it was Clark.
Nice.
That was a
That's
beautiful.
Elijah Clark, you
Yeah,
said?
that was
Okay.
a
Good
heat-seeking
for him.
missile, making a big play on third down.
I
It
like
was good
that.
vision by him to see that coming across.
RPO.
That's knowing where the first down marker is, knowing you got third down. That's a guy making a big play. And that's not an easy tackle. That's a big tight end.
No, it's not.
Beautiful play.
So he's a safety?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Matt Eberflus right there. The sound tackling defense. Don't blitz a lot. Get pressure with the front four. Stout run defense. So he likes to see that stuff.
That reminded me about Rod Marinelli. 4 or 1. 4 equals 1.
Oh my goodness.
Whoa. Okay.
That looked like that hurt. Oh my gosh.
That's what his weekend.
Nick
That was
calls
Cropper,
Lipke,
right?
Yeah. Nick calls
Yikes.
Lipke Thanksgiving because he can eat anything they put on his plate. That's nice.
Yes.
Turpin, Blue, Lipke, can we please scheme some of our specialty weapons? Yeah, especially Turpin. A lot of these guys that are in our storyline community, they like Turpin as like an every down wide receiver, like a wide receiver 3. I don't see it. I think he's more of a specialty weapon, just like you said, Zach. I think he's a specialty weapon that you use in certain situations. I think he can come out of the backfield. I think he can go deep. He can run slants. I mean, he can do a lot of it, but I don't think he's your every down kind of wide receiver 3. I think Tolbert, as boring as he is a much more rounded player and can do a little bit of everything. He can run block. So I think you'll see Tolbert in there at wide receiver 3. But I agree with you as far as specialty guys. I'd love to see him scheme some stuff up for Turpin. Lipke too, like you said.
Yeah.
William says, I think
What's your
Shadi is
ideal?
Let me read this real quick,
5
Irene, then we'll jump to you. William says, I think Shadi
yeah.
is going to go through every single weapon that could possibly help. And he says, are they doing anything differently on defense today other than just playing a lot better? Well, they're playing better, but I think that the Falcons are also making a lot of mistakes. We've seen a couple of missed blocks on their part and some bad throws, miscommunication. So we got that going for us, I guess. Irene, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, that was a good question. Do you guys have like who are your ideal in a 5 wide scenario? Obviously, Lamb and Pickens
With Mingo
top
hurt?
2. Yeah, I guess so.
All right, Kyle, go ahead. You can take this one.
Yeah, Lamb, Pickens, Ferguson, obviously, Turpin in the slot. Remember that game against Houston last year where he just took it to the house in man coverage. And I guess right now it would have to be Tolbert, right? I mean, he's kind of your 3 by default. So that's what I would go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can Lipke be on the field then there in that scenario?
An empty? Unless you want him as like an inline blocker instead of Ferguson, but I'd rather have like a delayed maybe route by Ferguson, you chip, and then you go on a flat route, something like that.
Yeah, Fergie's bigger, but Deuce is back.
I think Ferguson's got a really good year. I know it's flashy to think about Lamb and Pickens, but I think Dak is pissed that Ferguson didn't have a touchdown last year, and I think he's going to try to hit him right off the bat in this first game against Philly.
All right, we got Deuce Vaughn back in the game.
Love it.
I tell you what, with Deuce, when he runs up the middle like that and gets in these piles, he always falls forward and gets that leverage.
He does.
Very Emmett Smith like, right? What do you guys think?
So you're saying Deuce Vaughn is Emmett Smith? That's what I'm hearing.
No comment.
Yeah, Deuce. Jaden Blue is Barry Sanders, and Deuce Vaughn is Emmett Smith.
And Maffa is Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, I think we said it running back, guys. I don't know about you.
Yeah, we're good. There's
Yeah,
Flournoy.
okay.
Nice throw.
Flournoy's making the team, man.
Yeah, I agree. I thought he could have got more playing time last year. Flournoy.
Yeah.
I love to see this short passing game from Milton. This is what he really needs to work on after the first few weeks.
But look at that. It was crazy. As he said this week, he goes, I just throw the ball really fast. If you're an NFL player saying I throw it too fast, you shouldn't be playing blah, blah. But look at that ball. That was not a bullet. I mean, it had some touch on it for a slant. Like, you can't be breaking your guys' hands.
Right. Maybe somebody was like, this is not a quote that you need to be saying.
Let's played it with a quarterback in high school, and I have small hands, and I broke my fingers a few times playing football. And this guy, I hated running hitch routes with this quarterback because you're coming back towards the ball, and he's slinging it as fast as he can. He was a pitcher too in baseball. I think he played college baseball.
Oh.
And he as fast as he could every single time, and it was scary. My hands always hurt every day coming home from practice. A little run from Deuce. He's got some room. They closed the backside fast there.
He should have took that ball and kept it. Milton had it. They crashed in.
Look at the size difference between him and whoever that offensive lineman was.
He's just so cute. This is a cute little guy.
Oh my gosh. Christian. Look at him.
Yeah, William
Flournoy. The movie Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
I think of it Deuce.
That's awesome.
William Flournoy is making it easy. I agree. He's on the squad. I want to see Holden get some balls thrown his way. Nice block by Deuce.
Dylan Asketh.
This Holden?
And Milton does not delivereth. CeeDee Lamb had a better chance of catching that ball than Holden did.
Well, it was towards him, I guess. You need to be a little more specific that it needed to be catchable. In bounds.
Ball landed 2 yards out of bounds. Unfortunate. That's a hard throw, though, obviously.
First punt of the night.
I like that Holden kept trying to keep his feet.
Yeah.
Like, he did have awareness.
They got blue as one of the gunners here on the bottom of the screen. That's interesting.
Okay.
Oh, wow. That's a horrible Cowboy bounce. Jesus.
Yeah, that was terrible. Is it anger?
Yeah, both Mafe and Blue on the punt team there. Yeah, that was anger. That's just an unlucky bounce there.
Oh, just a bounce. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a great game. They were close to the Super Bowl that year. Danny White went, I think, 2 or 3 straight NFC Championship games.
I think 2. At least 2, yeah. Lost to Washington both times, I think.
Yeah, look at Rick in the chat. That's my guy. Anybody on YouTube watching this? If you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button. And my guy Rick says hit the like button as well. Appreciate it.
Heck yeah, Rick.
45.
What?
Who's number 45? I feel like I need a media guide in front of me. It's Fairweather.
Oh.
Cut him. No, I mean, he will be cut.
He's going to be practice squad anyway, so whatever.
Meanwhile, Mahomes and Caleb Williams are playing into the second quarter, Zach says. What a different philosophy. It's wild. How do you guys feel about that?
I'd like him to play a little, but I probably wouldn't go to the second quarter, to be honest. Probably do like 2 series.
I think I would have liked to seen Dak even get a series or 2. I mean, I see it from both ways with Dak's injury history in recent years. So I think the Cowboys have been more cautious ever since that 2020 season and when Romo went down against Seattle in 2016. But at some point, you got to just set the tone and maybe just get Dak a little bit of confidence going into the season. It's kind of been hit or miss. He hasn't thrown. Well, he threw one touchdown pass against Cleveland last year, but before that, I don't think he had thrown a touchdown pass in a Week 1 game since 2021. Right. That was the good game against Tampa. So I think at this point in his career, he's a little bit older. So he obviously has a lot more experience, but him coming off the injury, I would have liked to see him get a little bit more time in the preseason just to kind of get some confidence going into week 1, because he didn't look like a confident player last year. And I would like to just kind of see him get a touchdown drive under his belt, and then he could pick off right where he left off.
I think if I'm the coach, I'm looking at the schedule, and if I have teams that I know aren't top tier teams, all right, well, you got to take every team serious, but you're going against the Browns. They had a good roster last year. But I mean, you kind of know what they are going into the season. They weren't going to be real contenders based on their roster and their what they had going on. So like, okay, you warm up against the Browns, but then you have like the Ravens to play the next week, and they're a serious contender. So it's like, do you really is that 1 week good enough to warm up and get back into the flow of things and go against the Ravens? Now this year you got the Eagles week 1, so it's like you're going to go in completely cold other than what you've done in training camp against the reigning Super Bowl champs. That's a tough ask. And while the Cowboys have started hot as far as their first 5 games of the last 5 years, they're all winning records just about, I think I saw. So the team itself does okay, but certain players like Dak, for example, definitely start off slow. And so how do you fix that? Is it getting snaps in the preseason? Because what if you throw them in for 2 series, 3 series, and they don't do jack whatever, you know what I mean? What if they're terrible? And so does that build confidence? I mean, you can't have them play the whole game just to go score 1 time out of 5 drives, you know what I'm saying? So it's multifaceted, and I understand all the angles on it, and I don't really have an opinion one way or the other. I'll ride the fence on it. I can go either way, as boring as that is.
No, I think that's fair. I think to me, that Cleveland game last year was a little bit of a fool's gold situation where I think Turpin scored on a punt return. They got a ton of defensive turnovers in that game, and it kind of hid some of the offensive problems they had. I know Dak made some good throws in the game, but it's not like they were lighting it up offensively. And then when they played the Saints, I think they were 7-point favorites going into that game, and we saw what happened with that game. So I would like to see the offense just start a little bit faster. And are those slow starts caused by not getting a lot of time together in the preseason? I don't know. I don't think any of us know, but we know what they have been doing the past few years really hasn't worked. So Schottenheimer seems to be doing the same thing McCarthy did.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's, like you said, if it's a Jerry Jones thing and it all goes back to 2016, because that seems to be when it all changed.
I still think, though, that, I don't know, that wouldn't be a common injury, right? Like Romo didn't really need to slide like that or start running like that in a preseason game. So
injury. Yeah.
Yeah, it was such a weird thing. I just don't think that I know people get injured, but usually the people who get injured are not playing 1 series, right? Or 2 series. It's like the guy who's been out there and it's the 3rd quarter and they're fighting for their job, and like Mingo, he got injured in the 4th quarter last week, something like that. So I think the risk isn't as big as they say. But I mean, I get it. If it happens, people are going to be pissed. The season's over, I guess, but I don't know.
People are going to be pissed either way, I guess. So.
They are. That's fair. I just think this challenge with I hate that we're opening with the Eagles. I hate that we're opening 3 days early. But I mean, it is what it is, I guess, trial by fire. But we do have a good little, I don't know, 6 games or so that we should be able to get some momentum, but then it gets so hard again. So
I hate it because I'm on vacation that week, so I got to finagle a way to watch the game.
Oh yeah, we got to get you watching that game, man.
Well, you know what? Is it Sunday Night Football, right? Is what it would be, but it's on Thursday?
Correct.
It's on NBC. Yeah, so I'll just have to pay the $10 or whatever for a month of NBC so I can watch it on my phone. William says
it'll be on NFL Plus.
NFL Plus?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Should be. I mean, I don't know if they changed the rules, but that's how I watch a lot when I, if I have an open house or something that's unavoidable or whatever.
You watch those weird Sunday night games and stuff on NFL Plus? All right, well, wherever it's at, I'll figure out a way to watch it.
Because it's Sunday night. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think Sunday Night Football is
Amazon for Thursdays, I think.
But Sunday Night Football, I think, is always on there.
All right. William says this may sound dumb, but with Cooper Rush as a backup, I felt like we could win. And then he says, and because of that, we could be riskier with Dak, but not the situation.
No, that doesn't sound dumb. I mean, I get it, especially after seeing the last 2 weeks. I said I posted that on our storyliner community. I was like, never mind my take. We can't play Dak with this as our backups. But
yeah, I don't trust either
that's
one
not
of these
dumb.
guys to hold it down for a couple games. You know what I
No.
mean? Not like Rush. What's going on, Davion?
Uh-oh.
Welcome. Welcome.
Davian in the house.
He's a good dude.
Are you at work, Davian?
Zach says, yes, I
'Cause it's
watch most games on NFL Plus on my phone tablet. Interesting.
Yeah, even some of those weird like Netflix ones. I don't think the Netflix one, but some of those.
Oh, should've been a
Come on.
sack.
What happened there?
Come on.
Shamar James.
Nice.
QB just spun out of like 2 tackles there though in the backfield. Yeah, I have NFL Plus for the all 22, Zach. So I mean, I have it.
You should be set.
There's
Guys,
just a million ways to watch
feed
these.
my cats really fast. I'm gonna mute my mic for like 2 minutes. Give me one sec.
Sounds good.
All right, no worries.
Yeah. You guys want food? Come on. Want food?
Davion's in Shreveport. He's wrapping
that's
up
right.
dinner. Nice. What's the score? 14-3. Oh, thanks for reminding me, Davion. I gotta change my little scoreboard here.
You guys want food?
I'm not sure you muted. I think you might have muted us.
Probably. I think I can mute him.
Because I tried that earlier. I was like, oh, let me mute this. And then I was like, wait, I can't hear anybody else.
There. I have control. I didn't realize I muted him.
Oh, okay.
I am the man in charge.
Cool. All right, let's see what we got here. Zone
Second
coverage.
mate. Looks like we got a corner blitz. Oh. Bad throw.
All right. Third and 6. Third and 8. Nice. They really don't blitz, do they? Or at least not in the preseason.
Oh, they blitz there. They sent a corner blitz.
But they don't do much of that, right?
No.
I haven't noticed much.
No. Tavion got hit with the commercial. Sorry, brother. It's on YouTube. It's all automated. Another blitz. Wow. Andy Porter's been dying to do that his whole career.
Not great. Not great.
That was I saw a blitz come from the other side. I'm not quite sure what that coverage was. Somebody messed up something. Let's see. So Mukwamu bails.
Yeah, wow.
There's nobody around.
Oh, Felipe Franks. I remember that name. I feel like Dave Hellman liked him.
All right, so Cowboys got one timeout. One timeout in 48 seconds. You think they're gonna? I mean, yeah, I would assume they would try to do something to get in field goal range, right?
Yeah, which is like what, hour 40?
Yeah, basically. That's true. Oh, that's true. Totally forgot last year, the whole season for like the last half. We're like, let's get this man a 70-yard field goal.
I'm so bummed that we didn't. Like, that would have redeemed the whole season for me.
Yeah. Honestly, I was still having fun until Overshown went down. It was at that point I felt misery.
Yeah, that's
I had accepted the season as a failure, but Overshown was still balling out, and it was just a gut check.
At least you had him to look forward to for next year, and then he gets hurt.
Yep.
We'll see where we're at Thanksgiving, and then, you could, best case scenario, get back by November or December, but we'll see.
That would be nice.
I see this team making a push for a playoff spot, so unless, something crazy happens. unless injuries occur or something. As far as what they do in the playoffs and being one of the top 3-4 teams, I don't know about that, but
Nah.
I think they'll be in
No.
contention for a playoff. Once you get in the playoffs, so you never know. Like the
Like,
07
anything can
Giants,
happen.
the 07 Giants weren't like a top 6 team. Like they weren't.
No, they actually sucked, and then they went on a run.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
So all you gotta do is get in, and then you never know. Even the
actually, the
the
streaky
Commanders,
teams do. Yeah,
the
the
Commanders
streaky
last
teams
year.
do well. We
I
just
think-
never tend to go on that streak for some reason.
Right.
I think strength of schedule is so overrated. It's like, oh, let's rank these teams as the most difficult, the easiest. So many things could happen during the year in terms of injuries, and teams change from year to year in terms of roster overturn, things like that. So what seems like might be a top 10 difficult schedule for the Cowboys might end up being one of the easiest, you know?
You heard it right here. Kyle said the Eagles will be 6-11. Commanders 4-13.
Yep. That's exactly what I said.
We only do bold predictions on here. That's it.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I mean, what Barkley did last year was remarkable, getting over 2,000 yards. It's almost impossible to replicate what he did again this year.
No, that's fair.
Do it back to back. So, they're going to lean on what worked last year, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be as efficient, because it was kind of remarkable how healthy he stayed last year. He was always banged up at work.
Yeah. I mean, better offensive line, so he'll probably will still be pretty healthy. But yeah, it was weird that he stayed healthy the entire season.
It also makes a big difference when you're on an actual good team versus wasting your career on what they had out there.
Meaning he let those
who wants to fight
injuries linger?
through being hurt into injuries on a team that has no future? You know what I mean? You're just wasting your career.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Ooh. It's like the third roughing the passer penalty.
Yeah. Guys are getting a little aggressive out there.
Take advantage of it. All right.
He's been much more accurate tonight, Milton. I really like what I'm seeing. He looks a lot more comfortable in the pocket.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how much better he is tonight.
Might just be a thing. You just need a few games to get under your belt just to get comfortable and to slow down.
Maybe. Look
Yeah,
at
they're in
that.
field goal range. Just hopefully, I want no more
Illinois.
yards. No more yards. Let's see a nasty field goal kick from here.
I thought that was Miles Austin.
Yeah.
Bold
I-
prediction: Illinois will have the 256-yard game against the Eagles.
Yeah, who's your dark horse to have a bigger game than expected against Philly? Everybody's talking about Pickens and Lamb. Any dark horses you think of?
Ooh,
Offensive defense.
Give me a minute on that one. It's gonna take me a second. Why don't you start? You got somebody in mind?
I said Ferguson earlier. I don't know if that's a dark horse.
Ah, okay.
but yeah.
that's who I was thinking too, and I was like, "Is that dark horse? Like he should be a recipient of, the double teams and whatnot, bracketing or whatever to the other two."
Oh, hold and drop. That's not what you need there, buddy.
Yeah, practice squad, buddy.
Yep.
All on that play. I'm thinking about your question. It's just so hard for me to really think they're going to be competitive against Philly, which is weird to say because, with Dak, they have been really successful against Philly. But I don't know. Last year was just, I know he didn't play, but it was just so far apart.
That might be one of those games where a little deuce run. That might be one of those games where it's a close game for a while, and if the Eagles really are that much better, it's late and they start to pull away, and all of a sudden it becomes like a 3-score game, even though it was close all game long. As far as a dark horse, I really like Ferguson. I think that's a great choice for a dark horse because nobody's talking about him, but he's going to be the biggest beneficiary, I think, of the Pickens trade.
Yeah, I think so.
You're gonna
But
shake.
it's
I'll
probably
pass.
this guy right here on the screen, Brandon.
Yeah.
So this is at the 58-yard line. So what does that mean? The 58, right? I think I saw. Or was it? No, I'm sorry. The 48.
Yeah.
The 58. There's no 58. It's a 48-yard line. So what does that mean?
54 yard? No, it says 64 yards
It's our 48.
because it's 17 yards.
I say it is to the same thing I did. It's like the 54-yard line. 64-yard attempt right down the middle. Is it long
Oh,
enough?
wow. Oh,
Just
it was
ridiculous.
at least 68, if not 70 right there. Wow.
It's just ridiculous. Right down the middle.
That would have been good from 70. I mean, that's
Yeah, that looked like it.
what a weapon. I mean,
Yeah, so that's my dark horse for the Eagles game.
For the season.
He'll have 21 points.
a lot of manifesting tonight. Like we say one thing and it actually happens in the game. You know, the hold-in play and then this with the big kick. So
Yeah,
We're just really
we
good
might
at
have
that.
to keep this up for the season, man, if we can manifest them to victory.
That's funny, man. Hey, William with the Shiba Dog donation. Appreciate it, bro. I'm assuming that's Harper sending that sticker and not actually William.
See, on this one, on my phone, I can't see it. I can't see the chat.
You know, I set up this thing in my recording software. It's supposed to, the sticker is supposed to show up in the top right of like the actual streaming window. I guess I didn't do it right. So I gotta work on that. I want these little dogs to pop up on my stream. They're really cute.
Heck yeah.
All right, I am going to put us on the Be Right Back screen for just a minute, guys. Let's take a quick break for halftime, and then if you all are good, maybe meet back here about 5 minutes or so.
Okay.
sounds good.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right, we are back, and I have somehow hidden Irene. I'm not quite sure what happened there, so I need to fix her. I've also somehow hidden the score for the Falcons. All right, they're back, 10 points. All right, we are back, y'all. Happy halftime. The game will be back on here shortly, and so will we. So, what do y'all think of the first half so far?
I was really happy with the way the defensive line, particularly the interior, played. I think we saw obviously some good things from Mozzie and Toya. And I think that's something that the coaching staff needed to see going into the season. So I was really intrigued and encouraged by defensive line. Obviously, Blue had some really nice runs. Deuce Vaughn had a couple good runs, but I'm really impressed also with Joe Milton and his recovery from these first two games. So a lot, definitely the most amount of things to be encouraged by in a preseason game, compared to the first two. So this is kind of what you want to see with these young players responding to adversity, not playing very well first 2 weeks, and now you're seeing them to kind of progress.
Irene, what you got?
You can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, no, Milton for sure, biggest night and day difference. The first preseason game, I was thinking, wow. I said that you threw a pretty ball on air, and then you were doing that stuff. But yeah, no, he looks a lot sharper, more in rhythm. Used his legs. I think he was playing with instincts a little bit better, so he could get the feel of the game. The other person, I love Houston. I really do. I think he's made the team. And then Flanoy, he's making a push. Brooks had a couple of catches, or at least I think he had at least one. But Flanoy has had quite a few, and kind of breaking tackles, or at least fighting for yards. So that looks good for him.
Yeah, I think Flournoy is securing his roster spot. I think Houston is doing his damnedest to secure a roster spot. It's a busy position, but he's making a run for that roster spot. Both Deuce and Blue both look good. Deuce, we know, probably isn't going to make the team, but both running backs have looked good. Blue had a really nice goal line run, banged off a guy right into the end zone, so that was nice to see. Brandon Aubrey, the money man. I mean,
64 yards, man.
What else can you say about the man?
With room
That's
to
fun
spare.
to watch.
He's something else. Hey, 16 yards rushing for Atlanta in the first half. I know, backup players, but in terms of adapting to Eberflus's scheme as the preseason goes on, it's kind of what you want to see. They're playing a lot more disciplined in their gaps. So anytime the Cowboys could hold a team to 16 yards rushing, I think we'd be pretty satisfied with that. So hopefully that momentum at least carries over with the starters going into Philly next week or in a few weeks.
Yeah, no doubt. And just to get to these comments here, William, another $3.99. Appreciate the donation. And he says Harper is a supporter of her channel, but she's a lightweight and more of a noon game gal. So bedtime for her. Good night, Harper.
Good night.
Out. We'll see you
awesome.
Next week or whenever we do the next one. I'm not quite sure. We'll figure that out. But thanks again. And John Hirschman, Kyle, he wants to know, what is your shoulder routine at the gym? Do you lift them 5 times a week? It looks like it. Maybe 10 times a week.
Oh, jeez. I know John. He's just trolling. I gave him the link to watch. So like and subscribe, John. Okay. Don't troll.
We gotta snip that one out. What do they say? Clip it. We gotta clip it. Chat. We gotta clip that one.
Great.
I like that.
Thank you.
Is Rick saying we had 138 passing yards?
I can look it up and see real quick. Actually, I believe that's right here in the stats.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Stick has 145. Milton had 94 yards in the first half.
Milton at 94. Okay.
Our Blue is back in the game for the first series.
John loves you, Kyle.
Thank you, John. Love you too. Come on, Brooks.
Can't be having that when you're fighting for a spot.
A balance, right? 64 rushing yards, 94 passing yards. That's kind of what we want to see, at least what I want to see with the Cowboys. I don't want them to get too pass heavy, take the pressure off of Dak, balanced offensive attack is what I want to see.
Oh, toss to Blue with some lead blockers. That looked nice until they went airborne for a second there. Then everything collapsed.
least I'd like to see these outside perimeter runs. You didn't see that a lot in McCarthy's offense. It was like a lot of duo runs, a lot of inside zones from shotgun. We're seeing a lot more runs under center. Love to see that. That was a shotgun run, but still, we're seeing a lot more running under center, which is what I think is refreshing in this
Yeah,
offense.
and I love that they're taking care of. They're using the entire field. They're running out on the edges, getting the perimeters taken care of, and I love that because if you just do an A B gap runs all game long, all you're doing is clogging up the middle of the field, and it does work. You got to have those runs. He's gotten those burners on a second sooner.
Yeah,
he pumped fake past the line of scrimmage. I think he's a yard short. Yeah, he is.
Go for it. Preseason, come on.
But yeah, I love that they're attacking the edges in the run game. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we have the guy for it now.
And that's Schottenheimer, to give him some praise and knowing what to do with certain players and what their strengths and weaknesses are. I mean, with McCarthy, we had him running duo with Deuce when he would get limited opportunities. It's like, right. Dude, get him on the perimeter, get him in open space. Like, that's not his game.
There you go. That's what you do with a mobile quarterback. This might be a touchdown.
Okay.
Nah.
Let's go.
Lost his balance.
Zach, no, it doesn't count as the record in preseason, unfortunately, if a 70-plus yard field goal. But it would still be really cool to see. It would count in our hearts. Let's see. They're talking about Preston Fant. Let's see what his lead block was. Yeah, I saw this out on the edge here. Woo. It's too bad he couldn't get out in front of 39 there. Get a double block. That's what you dream of as a lean blocker. The Bobby Boucher running down the field. Block 3 guys off their feet. I almost had it there.
Commenting on Zach, I know you just answered the question, and Rick did too, but there was somebody who hit the 70-yarder, right? The guy from the Jaguars.
Got a deep throw here, cooking. He brought it back. Holden.
Okay, Holden.
All right.
Very nice. Look at he was loading up to throw that deep, and he second guessed himself, which is great because last week he was not. He would have thrown that down the field regardless of what the coverage looked like.
100%.
Progress.
Hey, more play action under assistant running game like they do tonight. Play action passing game looks a lot better than it did the first 2 weeks.
Blues still in the game.
Let's
Play action.
See.
Deep to Brooks. Got him.
Okay, Brooks.
Here's the thing with Brooks, too. It feels off to me about Brooks, but I think this is something personally to me because every time Brooks has a deep ball thrown his way, he catches it. And we saw it in training camp, too, especially with Milton. He's got good hands. He's a quicker guy, faster guy. Not a bad receiver. And he plays special teams.
He does this over-the-shoulder catches all the time.
That was a really nice throw.
That was.
Cover 1. Hit him over the top. Single high safety.
Yeah, so basically, we got QB1 right here.
Irene.
He's looking like RG3 before he got hurt.
Yeah.
Hey, he's got, some strength to him, though. RG3 was tiny guy. Yeah. Very lanky.
Papa Sue jumping in the chat to tell us he loves Brooks.
Oh, yeah. He loves Brooks ever since the time he lost Izzy in training camp. That's awesome. Oh, dang. Okay, so we still think Milton will be number 3, though, right?
Yeah. Well,
in most games.
I think so.
Could he be 2 and then you just switch it if it's a long-term injury?
Well, I think it's the other way. I think if it's a long-term injury, I think that's when you put him at 2. If it's for a couple of games and you have more confidence in Greer, then you go with Greer. But, I mean, does one preseason game change their opinion of what Milton is as a backup?
They seem obsessed with him, but so...
It's called evaluation, Irene. They're obsessed with the eval.
Well, I guess they just feel like they know who Greer is because he has been here before.
Right.
And then where was he last year with? Oh, he was with the Eagles, right? For a little bit, because he has a Super Bowl ring.
I think, yeah, he bounced around. He's with the Patriots for a little bit too. I mean,
and Steelers maybe.
I mean, you can't feel good for him as a backup quarterback either,
right?
So pick your
I don't.
Are you going to win many games with either one of them? I think if you had to choose between them, you want to get Milton some more experience. I mean, if that goes down, I mean, you're not going to win 7 games like you did with Cooper Rush. If you had Milton last year instead of Rush, they're probably a 5-win team, a 4 or 5-win team.
Yeah. And for a backup quarterback, I'm a big proponent of having a mobile backup quarterback because he's a backup for a reason. He's not going to be as I don't want to say not as intelligent, but he's not going to see as much as your starting quarterback. He's not going to understand the field typically as good as your starting quarterback. So to have somebody with some mobility that can just make things happen just off of athleticism, that's what I want in a backup. So John says you'd have to run a different game plan with Milton than Dak. Yeah, Dak. Now, I will say we saw Dak running some in training camp more than we thought he would be running. But yeah, Milton's a different kind of runner, obviously, much faster, much more athletic than Dak at this point in Dak's career. But I do agree with you. You'll be seeing, if he's the quarterback, you would see a lot more like RPOs and things like that with Milton in the game. Read options, I should say. No, maybe not RPOs, but read options.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see some read option plays with Dak. I mean, he's leaned up a lot. You guys saw him out there, and there are ways to at least give him an option to tuck in and keep the ball or hand it off. Obviously, that's a lot of dependent on what the defensive end is doing on the play, whether he's crashing in or holding sliding the edge. But just once in a while, it doesn't have to be every week. But if it seems like something you could add to the game plan for that week, hey, let him loose, man. I mean, how many years does he have left? 2-3 more years, maybe. So, that was a big aspect of his game early on in his career. And it was a big time weapon for the Cowboys. And that's kind of been lost over the past few years.
Well, that was a weird looking kickoff. There's looks like offsides, or I don't know what you call it on kickoff. Yeah, and the thing you gotta keep in mind with Dak too is I do want to see him run more. They're probably hesitant because when Dak got hurt last year, the play before he got hurt, he took off on a big run play. And so it seems like that run play messed his leg up. And then just the motion of throwing the ball with his, the leg movement is what tore it off the bone, the hammy. But I believe it was the run play, the play before that actually set that up to be injured. So they're probably going to keep that in mind as well. But I do want to see Dak, even if it's unscheduled runs, I want to see him out of the backfield more, especially like 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. If you have a lane, just take it. Yeah, so we got a illegal formation on Dallas there.
Sergeant Slaughter.
On the kick team. Rick, yeah, I've got the game sound on for us to listen to. I can't play it on the YouTube channel, though, because it'll get flagged and taken down. I'm not that cool. We're free a little offsides there. Is that Wheat down over there? 91? What's that? Looks like Wheat might have got hit in the nuts or something. He was on one knee for a second.
One thing about Brooks, man, compared to Flanoy, definitely has a better nose for the end zone. Much more better red zone receiver than Flanoy. I know, I think either Dak or Rush connected with him a few times last year. I don't know how many touchdowns he had. Might have been just a few, but he only scored a few times last year. Nice.
Yeah, I want to see Flournoy get a couple deep balls downfield or something, a couple of deep posts or something. Give him a chance to be in a position to score or break a tackle or something. This Turpin, yep. Turpin with the big chains on the sideline. Oh, gashed him right up the middle.
That looked like the first few weeks of preseason. Man, I'll tell you, life comes at you fast. Turpin's like a veteran receiver already. Where'd the time go?
I'm excited for Turpin, man. Oh, there you go. Turpin, I feel like he's just too inconsistent to be your bona fide 3. But he's a weapon, so I'm excited for him. See how he does this year. Now, what's his contract situation?
3 years, $11 million. I could look up the guarantees.
He just got paid, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're good on his front.
He was restricted, I think, and they signed him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this year it's a $3.1 million cap hit, and he is signed through 2027.
Oh, who just got that sack? Just missed it. I was looking at Cavante's. Is that Winfrey? So it looks like it was James Houston and Winfrey. Let's see.
I think both those guys have to make the team.
Oh, yeah. Well, Houston kind of went down, but yeah, Winfrey, nice rush.
This is why Micah is so integral to the Eberflus defense, because you're not going to see those double mug A-gap blitzes anymore than you did last year. You know, a lot depending on coverage and getting pressure with the front 4. So Parsons isn't in there. That's got to come from somewhere, and that's the most concerning thing about this whole situation.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Here comes Will Grier. Third quarter, Will Grier. Let's go. Now, what do you want to see from Will Grier here?
Just efficiency. You know, just probably just going to continue with the short passing game. Nothing crazy. He's probably going to take off a few times. He's not a mobile quarterback, but he's not afraid to take off and get some yards. So,
100%.
Like you guys mentioned earlier, we kind of know what Grier is. I mean, I don't think most teams in the league would be comfortable with him as their backup either. We talk about Milton and how raw he is as a talent, but I don't feel that much better if all, you know, with the Grier as well as the veteran backup. The Cowboys just know him a little bit more, but that doesn't mean he's going to be a good backup.
Right. Let's see some. Now, you know, last week it was like, okay, let's get Will Grier in the game, and I just want to see him do what Milton's been doing this game. He's been delivering the ball on target, on time, good, accurate throws. Let's just keep that going so we can keep this evaluation going for these guys.
I mean, the real question is Ben DiNucci going to get some playing time here in the fourth quarter? That's what I want to see.
The GOAT.
He was so good against Philly that one game. It was a legendary performance.
He had us, was it Pittsburgh as well, right? That one week? Yeah, that's a really tight game with them. But lost in the end.
So question. So we talk about the backup quarterback a lot, and obviously, you know, Dak's going to be here for the foreseeable future. But is it a situation where if something happens to Dak, would you rather have a backup that you don't feel confident that will win a lot of games just to get a higher draft pick for next year to maybe get a blue chip defensive tackle, or if you're high in the quarterback just for the future? What do you think about that?
Yeah, if it's if you're in contention and you he's out for a couple of weeks and you want to keep in contention, whatever quarterback you think is the best to win a couple games, keep him in. If it's long term, just put Milton in at that point to get the developmental guy going. And if you lose games, that's great, and you get to develop him at the same time. It's a win-win. But I don't want them to throw games personally, but I also want a better draft pick selfishly. So if that answers the question, yeah.
I agree. I think, and with Schottenheimer, you know, as a newly appointed head coach, you don't have a guy in the hot seat like McCarthy was on a year-to-year basis. So at least he has some cushion, you know, at least for 3 years, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, unless the thing just completely implodes, which I don't see happening. I guess you never know. And Irene is back with us.
Back.
We got Will Grier and Irene. What do you think about that?
Oh, yeah. What has he done so far? Hand the ball off?
Handed it off.
Okay.
One play. Yeah.
I had to go put some eye drops for my mom, so
Okay.
I forgot.
Nope, you're good. Pair of blue runs to start this drive.
So blue's still going, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. They got a whole week to rest in between, or not even rest, but, get ready, get yourself ready to go. He hasn't had any work in preseason, so yeah. I'm okay with him taking carries still at this point. Davion says, how is the team looking? I couldn't watch tonight. Davion, the team looked much better this week, much more disciplined. They played physical, especially on the defensive line. Running game looked good even with Deuce falling in, Blue in, doesn't matter who the running back was. The running game looked good tonight. Flournoy looked good. Brooks looks good. Milton much improved this week. So just a much better all-around performance individually and as a team this week. And we still have a quarter and a half to go. So
we'll see because he mentioned Maffa and whatever his name is, Malik Davis, running. So we'll see. Maybe the fourth quarter they'll get some play.
That might be it, honestly, for Blue. I think we might be into Maffa / what'd you call him earlier?
Miles Davis.
Miles Davis. Might be in Miles Davis territory
That's
here. R.I.P.
Legend.
Yeah. They did get a new jazz guy to play the national anthem. I think the last one passed away.
That's true.
I want to say.
I think he retired.
Sorry. You got me on the Miles Davis trade now here. Jeez.
Yeah.
You're like, no, he's alive. He's done.
I feel like that one guy's been playing the trumpet at AT&T Stadium for since 2009. It's been the same thing every single year.
Maybe this is the change they need to get over the hump.
Maybe. No, I'm pretty sure it's Rowdy. Couldn't be anyone at the top.
I thought we talked about Rowdy. Rowdy is secretly Nick Eatman, right?
I do believe that. I have not seen them separately. So no, this was I think I mentioned it on air, one of my, not my first calls, but pretty early on. And then the funny part was at training camp, Rowdy comes out, right? And then he's like in the VIP section, whatever. And then he goes away. And then a few minutes later, Nick Eatman comes out. And, I think EJ is joining us. Hey.
Hey, buddy.
Up, man?
How you doing, man? Let me get you on the camera here on the big screen. What are you thinking so far about this game? You been watching, I'm guessing?
Conclusions being made based on what they've done thus far, but like Shoddy said, they're keeping it vanilla. I think that Milton's used his legs better this game and actually kind of leaned into one of his strengths in that department. He's had some good throws, not airing it out and having those knucklehead plays as much. I thought that Jaden Blue looked pretty good on that run for the touchdown. Mozzie just completely unblocked. He gets the tackle for loss, which is, I guess, good for his stat card, but not overly impressed by what I've seen from him. Nobody's necessarily stood out. I'm kind of surprised that we're winning right now, though. I mean, I guess Brandon Aubrey with the 64-yarder, that was pretty nice. Other than that, though, I mean, a lot of the same, truthfully.
Yeah, I'll be a little nicer, I guess, on that front. I thought we saw some progress from the team. Not so much on the defensive line interior. I haven't seen much of Toya. Mozzie, the one play, they forgot he existed, so that's fine, whatever. The defensive ends, I thought, looked good. Winfrey out there looks pretty good. Both they're playing him in the inside and outside. He's looked fine. Houston's looked good, I think.
Yeah, Houston is another guy. Absolutely. And he's popped off a few games now. So
right.
I think he's earning his roster spot. And we'll see if that kind of comes with... No, I haven't. We'll see if that comes with somebody else losing their roster spot, but I really do believe that he's kind of played himself into a role. And he's a guy that has played well for the Lions in the past. I know he had like 8 sacks his rookie season
Right.
and kind of has tapered down, but he looks like he wants it as far as playing on this team and actually trying his best in these preseason games, which is nice to see because um, sometimes it seems like the vets that actually do get to play, and I know that he's not like a highly touted player, but sometimes those guys kind of just loaf out there. So it's nice to see a guy that actually is playing and playing hard.
Yeah, and I'll give you a scenario that we had earlier. Hopefully this is working still here. Okay, sorry. We were talking about running backs and these edges and the numbers game that we have to play, right? And if keeping Houston meant leaving Maffa on the practice squad, are you cool with that? And that's assuming that we got Williams, Blue, and Lupke there in the backfield.
Okay, I was just about to ask if you were keeping Sanders, but um, yeah, I don't think that Maffa has done enough where he'd get poached from another team if he
Mm-hmm.
was left on practice squad. That's kind of where I'm at. So if you can kind of sneak him under the radar, I think great, because the likelihood of your third back actually getting some burn in live games, not very likely. Usually you're looking at a 1-2 punch, especially with Schottenheimer in the past. That's kind of what he's used. During his stint with the Jets, during his stint with the Seahawks. So, I'm perfectly fine with that, because I actually think that the defensive line, and especially with the edge rotation and how that works, those rotations do go deeper. And so you could see some Houston in live game action. And then all
Mm-hmm.
it takes is one guy pulling up with a hamstring injury or something like that. I mean, like, even let's say that Micah gets his contract done and he's ready. He's going to be on a snap count week 1. Like, there's
Same thing
no
I
way
said.
he's
Yep.
coming back and playing all of the snaps that he would have if he did participate in training camp the whole time. So like you've kind of got to rely a little bit more on those depth pieces on the edge. So yeah, I'm fine with keeping him on the team. And I think that he's shown enough to. I kind of stamped him as my kind of MVP of the preseason thus far, especially on the defensive side. And I know, like, Maurice Luafau, he's done some really good stuff. I think that Kyer Elam, during his time playing last week, he looked really good, which was kind of surprising because he hasn't done anything thus far in his NFL career. But preseason wise, he's done a good job. So those are kind of the guys I've been looking at as kind of popping off. But I think he's earned his spot on the team, and especially with Maffa, I think that his contact balance is really good, but he's kind of a situational back. I don't think that he's, an every down back for this team. And especially with what they're trying to do, I think that they're really going to lean into Javonte Williams and Jaden Blue, because those guys can catch the ball out of the backfield, and they know their run blocking isn't good enough to continually run up other teams' throats. So they're going to have to use that short passing game with their running backs as the extension of the run. And because of that, I think those other two backs are way more accustomed to fitting into that kind of scheme.
Yeah, and Maffa's kind of redundant too with Lipke, and really with Williams too.
Yeah.
Lipke, Williams is smaller than Maffa, but he's still a powerful guy. He doesn't shy away from contact, and so Maffa is kind of just more of the same there in a little bit bigger body. I could see Maffa down the road in a year or two being one of the guys that they want to lean on with some development. But yeah, for right now, I'm 100% in on keeping Houston. If that means we got to put Maffa out on the practice squad.
Yeah. Have you guys had any like end of roster talks other than that?
A little bit of like which of the 6th receiver, maybe.
Right.
But
Yeah.
what are you thinking about?
Yeah, honestly, this is one of those years where I think that they could honestly go with 5 receivers in order to keep one of those other guys around. I mean, really, after the initial group of offensive linemen, there's a lot of guys that aren't separating themselves and from the other guys. Especially, there's some rookies, there's some guys, like Nate Thomas, like he's looked good in some stints. And I'm interested to see what happens with Asim Richards, kid out of Oregon, um, Nate Thomas, and how they actually go about keeping all of those guys. Obviously, Hoffman's going to be there. TJ Bass, I assume. Um, that is one of those places I could see them going a little heavier on, and as a result, you could only see 5 receivers, especially with the Mingo injury. They throw him on
Yeah.
IR or something to start the season, and then they just roll with the top 4, and I'm throwing Tolbert in that top 4 with Turpin, and then a Flournoy or a Brooks. Pick your guy there, or if you really like Holden, I don't think that Holden would get poached if you put him on the practice squad personally.
Okay.
But one of those guys is your 5th guy, probably. I don't know. I think that Brooks is more Dak's guy, so I would lean towards Brooks a little bit more. But yeah, I think that Mingo injury kind of helps you in only having to keep the 5 and keeping a guy around that you actually do like in Brooks or Flournoy, whichever one you want. That's one where I think you can kind of gain an extra roster spot for a different position.
What do you think about Asim Richards since you mentioned him? Because it just seems like he's just kind of stagnated at this point.
Yeah, he was a guy out of North Carolina. I believe he had 34 starts. 33 of them, I believe, were at left tackle. So he's a guy that's seen a lot of, college ball and at one position. I think that he can be a tackle, um, but more along the lines of your swing guy. You don't really ever want him to be your starter out there. Um, I honestly wanted to kind of see him a little bit more in a guard role just to see what it looked like. But I really think that they think that TJ Bass and Hoffman kind of have that position locked down if they need a backup guy there at guard. So interesting to see. I see what you're saying with kind of staying stagnant from his rookie season to now. Um, I think he's gotten stronger. I definitely think he can anchor in the run game a little bit better. But yeah, it's not one of those things where he's really popping off and showing him to be like the next guy. I really think that Nate Thomas is kind of that guy that they envision as
Yeah.
being the next guy
Yeah,
up right
I
now.
agree with that 100%. We had the conversation about and maybe we get your input on this now too. We'll keep this train rolling. Week 1 comes around, Guyton's healthy, can go in, but it maybe only has a couple of days of practice versus Nate Thomas having played the preseason. Who you putting in, Nate Thomas or Tyler Guyton?
Excuse me. Yeah, I think that I would probably roll Guyton, just knowing that if you don't roll him out there, and fans overreact regardless of what's going to happen, but just knowing if you don't roll him out there, then you have fans and all this outside noise of like, why is Tyler Guyton not starting? And like
Right.
down the stretch, like he was rotating last year, and there was noise about that. So maybe they don't care about that. But personally, I would rather put Tyler Guyton out there, see if he can roll. If he can't, then throw Nate Thomas in there. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? But it looks even worse if you throw Nate Thomas out there and then he's just absolutely just a sitting duck out there. And then you
Yeah.
have to roll Tyler Guyton in there. You know what I mean? So unless you're completely sitting
Mm.
Tyler Guyton out, not even suiting him up, I feel like you'd have to start Tyler Guyton if that was the case.
Yeah.
I think I would like him to have a couple weeks of practice under his belt. I worry about confidence with him. So I would hate
Yeah.
for him to, get cleared on Thursday and do like the walkthrough and then well no, it's Thursday game, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, are you
It's a
guys like
short
saying
week,
more
so
more along the lines of like keeping him completely out of the game no matter what? Like not
I
even
actually
suiting up?
didn't even think about that. So it's a good point that you make because it would be weird to bring him in an injury. So yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think give him a little more time if he needs it. I mean, I don't know if he comes to practice this week, I'm cool with it because you have 2 weeks, but
Hmm.
or
Yeah, I
whatever,
think
a
if
week
you're
and a
gonna
half.
keep him completely out of the game, then I think it's fine. You know what I mean? The guy's not ready. But if it's one of those situations where he's suited up, but you start Nate Thomas over him, it's like come on, like
Well, that'll
we've
hurt his
seen this
confidence
last
too.
year.
So
You know what I mean? It just doesn't look good for your supposed heir apparent to your Tyron Smith, and he's still rotating after what we saw last year down the stretch
Right.
too. So
Yeah, if we get into those rotational things again, I mean that's a disaster. Yeah, that tanked his confidence last year, I think, and we're gonna do that 2 years in a row. That's
there's just no reason to do that last year when the guy
no,
needed
absolutely
reps.
not.
And sure, like you could say that he's building, bad technique or bad habits or whatever if he's not doing things right. But at the same time, just getting in there and knocking your helmets with another player and getting that game experience can do wonders for players. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, our season was, pretty early on. I think we all knew that the season was not going well, so it was interesting that they.
It was just a weird
pushed
dynamic
that.
because you got a head coach fighting for his job and his future, and it's
True.
like we need to evaluate guys and develop guys, but he's not going to be here potentially. So what's he going to do?
Yeah.
That was a
What a
big
drop.
thing with the coaching last year.
very weird dynamic.
Yeah. Well, that was a drop. 'Cause that was pretty well wide open. Oh,
Wide open drop. Wow.
yeah. That's ugly.
What are your guys' outlooks for Dak this season? Obviously, it comes from the 2023 season, looks like the MVP. 2024 season kind of regresses and just not very good. Now, of course, you can chuck that up to not having offensive playmakers, but what do you honestly think he can do for this team in 2025, knowing that he's going to have to kind of carry that torch and really put the team on his back?
Kyle, why don't you go ahead and take that one?
Yeah, I kind of don't like the way they're setting up this offense. I feel like the league in general is going more towards back that balance attack. You look at the upper echelon teams like Detroit, Philly, that are really prevalent with their power running games, having obviously that kind of led them deep into the playoffs. So I feel like the Cowboys are going about it another way where they're really harping on the passing offense, which is fine because you saw what Dak did a few years ago. But I would like to see them, have a different approach if it doesn't go well this year, just because they're so strong with their interior offensive line. I like what they've done to build up the interior offensive line because I think that's where the league is going. You're seeing a trend with a lot of these good teams with having strong interior offensive and defensive lines where you can maybe get away with not having to have elite tackles where quarterbacks could, step up in the pocket, make throws, especially if you have a more athletic Dak this year where he could have more of a better pocket presence, elude pressure from the perimeters, step up, make throws. So I like how they address the interior offensive line because I think that was a big problem last year with Zach Martin having, his year with, being injured and his career was coming to an end. So I think if they could keep him upright with the interior pressure, I think he's going to be a lot more successful because I think Dak's one of those players where if he senses pressure, especially from the interior, he almost becomes a different player. He becomes very hesitant. He becomes very quick with his throws. He doesn't trust himself as much. He doesn't trust his protection. So I think if the interior offensive line play is a lot better this year compared to last year, I think you're going to see more. You're going to see a more confident player. And then you have Ferguson, who was banged up last year, and that's kind of Dak's security blanket. They didn't have a number 2 receiver. They didn't give, Dowdle the rock early in the year. They were still trying to kind of figure that out, and they didn't really figure it out until it was too late. So I think all those moving parts together just kind of, they really hampered Dak's confidence and his overall play. So now that you have a bona fide number 2, you could say you probably have a maybe top 5 receiving duo in the league with Pickens and Lamb. You have a healthy Ferguson back. You have better interior offensive line play. Maybe some new wrinkles schematically with Schottenheimer, bringing in new coaches. I think all that's going to help him. So I think you're going to see more. I don't know if he's going to be the 2023 Dak, but I think you're going to see him revert more back to that kind of player.
So what do you think, Irene? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, for me, it all comes down to do they keep him upright for sure because he has the skill. I know Bootgate was like kind of made fun of, but I do think that he came into the season at least sore. And then he was trying to run more, and then his freaking, you know, what was it? His hamstring came off the bone, which is crazy.
Mhm.
I don't see him. I think he's stronger. His legs look good in camp. He looks healthy. He's been running more, at least in camp. I mean, we'll see if when the lights come on he's hesitant again. But I do think if he taps back into
Oops.
that part of his game a little bit, be smart about it. But you have a skill. Like if you have a 3rd and 4, go get me those 4 yards, man. You can do it. You're not the fastest guy in the world, but just go get that. Don't get hurt, but just do it or get close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, like Kyle said, I think he'll be closer to 2023. But if the line is suspect, because I don't know if I trust the line yet. I like what they've done. I mean, I wasn't really wanting an offensive lineman with the number 12 pick, but they picked a good one, right? So we'll
Mhm.
see. But you know how the first year is with these guys. It's always, well, give them 1 year in the weight room. So I don't know that I can 100% feel confident in him. So that might be an issue. But with both Pickens, he trusts Pickens a lot. He's thrown, at least in camp, it looked like he was throwing tighter window throws to Pickens. So he has a guy with a good catch radius, good hands, and doesn't really drop, that he trusts. Then I think he is a confidence player too. And like Kyle was saying, or no, it was you, EJ, when he gets frazzled, he's a different player. So we'll see.
So
Yeah.
real quick,
Sorry, go ahead.
let me go to the chat here. So Davian says MVP Dak, Lord willing. Rick thinks Dak's going to be 2023 Dak, so basically MVP Dak. Zach says, and Dak we trust. And Zach says, if he's healthy, he should cook. The line can be solid. The weapons are great, and the defense is going to turn games into shootouts. That last point, I 100% agree with. Dak has no question but to be great this coming season, because this defense, especially early until we get these DBs back, is going to struggle, I think, defending the run and the pass. So I have to put up some points here, 30 plus points a game, I think, in these first few weeks at least.
Yeah.
But that does worry me about, going back to the confidence thing, because it seems like when the defense lets him down, he kind of falls apart. Like it happens a lot in the playoffs, right? Because the teams are better. And then he just can't get out of it.
Yeah.
So
My hopes are 2023 Dak Prescott against the Seahawks. When it was a shootout game, he had to go win it for you, and he was using his legs, like you mentioned, Irene, and he just had that swagger to him. You know what I mean? He was throwing the FU balls, and he just felt like that was his moment, right? What I am worried about is, one, the defense. Like I said, like even if you do get Micah signed, I don't trust this defense to legitimately be good enough to make a deep playoff run.
Yep.
right.
On top of that, let's say that you are the 7th seed and you have to go meet a Green Bay Packers team that plays or outdoors and has a Josh Jacobs that can run it down your throat. That just terrible matchup, just point blank period. You have to find a way to realistically get the 5th seed and hope that the team you're playing is, from the South. That's just really not that good. And it plays indoors and you could beat them. Um, I think the Eagles are too good, and just being realistic and unbiased, I think that their roster top to bottom is really good. We'll see what their defense is, and I think they have a little bit more questions at cornerback than they want to admit from their fans and that back half of the defense. But I think that they've been good. They know what they do. They know their system. Now, obviously, Kellen Moore going to the Saints, their defensive coordinator. Or no, Vic Fangio stayed there, I guess. But they are learning the new offense. Obviously, they're going to do what the Eagles do. And then who knows if Jaden Daniels comes out and balls like he did last year. I'm hesitant to say that he's going to be just as good or whatever, but he's got legs that gives you one up on the defense at all times if you can have that ability to run and take off instead of relying completely on the pass. So you've got two good teams, and I really think the Giants are making the strides to be at least competitive this year. You've
For
seen it in
sure.
their preseason games, and Jackson Dart, I don't know what happened with his little injury, if it's something serious or not, but they have three competent quarterbacks that are at least willing to keep them in games. Now, Jameis Winston obviously going to throw you some interceptions. Russell Wilson, not that great in my opinion anymore. But Jackson Dart, he's looked pretty good, and they're a team that could surprise some people and get to 8 wins, 9 wins. And if one of those wins are at the cost of you, or God forbid, 2 wins are at the cost of you, I don't think that you're competing in this division, because you really need to get both of those wins from the Giants and at least split with the Eagles and the Commanders to have a legitimate shot at the playoffs. So that's my biggest worries, is just the January, February ball comes down to the teams that can run and can stop the run. And I don't have any trust in the Cowboys to be able to run the ball or to stop the ball or stop the run right now. So regardless of how good Dak can be, and I really do think he's going to have a really good season. George Pickens coming over, that opens so many things for CeeDee Lamb, being able to get reutilized in the slot a lot more, not have to play
Ferguson
outside
too.
quite as
Big bounce
much.
back season loading up for Ferguson as well with Pickens.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Ferguson, just not having that nagging injury, getting paid. I feel like he's on the right trajectory to be one of those top 10 tight ends. And especially with this Luke Schoonmaker thing, I feel like Ferguson is one of those guys. He gets in the game and he kind of gets that swagger the more he gets going. Not having to worry about snaps being taken away because of Schoonmaker might be a really good thing for Ferguson.
Yep. And speaking on the there's a drop there. Speaking on the divisional stuff, until the Giants and the Commanders can prove they can come out and win against Dak Prescott, Dak Prescott's kind of their daddy. So I'm not going to worry too much about them until it's time to worry about them. If you know, and I think the Commanders are going to be good. Don't get me wrong. I think that quarterback is the real deal. We'll see in year 2. Obviously, give me 2 years before I really judge the guy. But I think he's going to be the real deal. Best case is I think you win all 4 of those games against those 2 teams, and then you split with the Eagles if you can get lucky. Because I think the Eagles obviously are a better roster, better team. But I mean, it's a divisional game. They always play tight. So we'll see on that front. My biggest fear with this team is we're going to play 2023 ball again. Oh my gosh, what a hit that was.
I know, right?
Holy smokes.
Massive.
I think that man is dead. My biggest fear is they're going to play 2023 ball where it's like, okay, this offense is really keeping this team alive. They score early, they score often, and now the other team has to throw the ball the entire game. But then you get into like late December, into the playoffs. Now you're playing against teams that can run the ball. You're playing in maybe colder weather. And now do you have a defense that can actually stand up and keep your offense in the game when your offense can't get going? Because it's going to happen. It's inevitable. It's going to happen.
Probably not.
And so are we going to do that mistake? And this defense isn't as good as 2023's defense. That was a takeaway machine defense. This team's not going to be that even. So that's my worry. I don't think they're a legitimate contender. You get in the playoffs, you never know what happens. But I think this is a building block year into 2026. The big deal, or the big thing they got to do is get some of these contracts done so they can continue the building process into 2026 and 2027. Because if some of these players leave that are up for contracts next year, specifically like a Bland and some of these other guys, well, now you're back to having to fill these positions. So we'll see if they can get those done. But yeah, this is not a serious contending year for me in my eyes.
Yeah.
And sorry about in here, but
real quick.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I got to pop off. So good talking with you guys.
All right.
Enjoy
See you
the
later,
rest of the
Irene.
stream. I'll be in the chat a little. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for
Bye.
joining. We'll see you.
No, but what I was gonna say though is I think this is what it comes down to. It's so important to hit on those early draft picks. I think that they've missed on Mozzie Smith. I think that they've missed on Luke Schoonmaker. I think they've missed on Tolbert. Now, Tolbert has at least played here and played decent enough last year. I still consider that a miss personally, because he's had the red carpet rolled out for him to actually do something. And 600 yards, I'm sorry, that does not move me. I don't really care what people say. Now, you can call him not a bust, but he's mediocre. I think that if you do miss on Tyler Guyton, that one's going to really hurt you.
Mhm.
So I do kind of like the floor play of bringing a Tyler Booker in here because I think that he's going to be a really good player. But that's where those core picks have hurt you recently because what it does is it expands out that gap of the players that are really good on your team are now just starting to get play, but you don't or paid, but you don't have those young guys on those rookie contracts to help you actually compete.
Yeah,
Um,
so what you're talking about is a top heavy roster, right? You got a
yeah.
lot of guys who you drafted, they played well, and now you got to pay them a bunch of money, so that's great. But you're missing the middle tier guys and the lower tier
Mhm.
guys, really, with the draft picks. So they're getting some of these middle round guys that are playing as middle round guys should play. But you're right, at the top of these rounds here, like the first and second round, getting these misses, killing this team, absolutely killing them.
And that's one of the things that, like, not to always bring back to the Eagles, but that's one of the things they do really well is they identify a guy that they think is really good, but they don't want to pay, and then they draft his replacement and a couple years earlier. And so whenever they are ready to pay this guy, they're like, we'll cut you, we'll let you go on free agency, we'll trade you in some cases, and they have the next guy up, and that's why their system has been working. Whereas the Joneses are not players in free agency. They don't go out there and sign other guys as guys that are good enough to supplement your draft misses. But also now they're missing in the draft at a more frequent rate than what we've seen from the past couple of years, where they were really good in the first round and decent enough in the second, but then hit in the third round quite a bit. Um, and then on top of that, they're still they haven't figured out how to get the contract situation under control. They continually ride this thing up into the season, and then that just causes your guys to have down years because they weren't there in training camp. We've seen it with Dak. Now, of course, Dak kind of balled out after he got paid, but we've seen it with CD Lamb and the slow starts with him last year. I think it's last year, right? Yeah, so yeah, last year, and then now it's going to be with Micah. If he does get signed, he's probably going to be on that snap count, like I mentioned, and he's just not going to be ready to go. So they've got to figure out how to better run their team and organization. I understand, these agents are not easy to deal with, and they are also looking out for their best interest, but it's a business, dude. You're looking out for your best interest. They're looking out for theirs. You've got to figure out how to
Oh,
supplement that
Shamar
and,
James with
and
the
make
interception.
some type of system work where it's actually beneficial for your team. If you're going to be that draft and develop team, you've got to hit on your draft and you've got to be willing to sign your guys when they have played up to that contract expectations.
Yeah, a lot to digest there, but I mean, I agree with you from a a team standpoint. I have such a hard time talking about the contract stuff because we really don't know what those conversations look like behind closed doors. We have Micah's story, we have the agent's story, we have Jerry's story, and like, what the hell? Like, specifically at this one, I say Micah, but specific to this contract here, like, what is really going on? And so it's not a matter of, okay, Jerry just has to play the guys, or that, okay, the agent just has to accept the contract. It's like, what is going on in these negotiations where it just gets locked up? Like, what? And it happens elsewhere, but it doesn't happen as often elsewhere. It seems like, and maybe it's because Dallas is such a big player. They're always in the news, always in the headlines. So maybe we just see more of it. But I feel like this is the only place where that occurs. So what's the miss from the front office here where it's a continuous issue? Why does that keep happening? And I don't think we have an answer for that.
Yeah. I I don't know. I think it's one of those things that aren't going to get resolved just because of who they are, and I'm referring to the Joneses and how they think that they need to operate. Um, and I think that I'd be disingenuous to kind of assume that that's going to change. Um, but I mean, we can always hope, and I think that they've had enough of these contracts that have went this way with the Des Bryant situation, with the CD Lamb thing, with Micah now, where these players are almost like, and Micah has already removed so much of his Cowboy stuff and is just like completely like, what the hell? And he requested a trade. Like, that is a situation you never want to be in as a front office, to see like one of your guys, the guys that you have on the banners whenever you walk through the Star or at the stadium, and you're really pushing their jerseys to one out. Like, there's some dysfunction there, and it goes deeper than just the money. So I don't know that I this kind of got brought up in my head, but Nick Harris is like, I would really love to hear what DeMarcus Lawrence says about this whole situation, which I think would be absolutely hilarious as well. But it's one of those things where you understand it from the player side, you understand it from the Joneses side, but from the fans' perspective, it's like this guy has produced. All the statistics, all the nerd stats say that he is the player as far
Right.
as EPA goes. Whenever he's
Yeah.
on the field, and whenever he's not, your play to on the field EPA wise is horrible. So what are you doing? Um, but if you can get a super package from some other team, and you can funnel in some draft picks, do you want to go that route? Because like we mentioned earlier at the top of the show, like um this is not a serious contending team. And I think that if we're being honest, I think everybody would agree with that. Now, you have to juggle the fact of like how many years do you actually think Dak is going to be good for? If he continues to deal with the nagging injuries and stuff like that, you've already paid this guy. That's the most important piece. Um, But if you're going to continue on with your philosophy of draft and develop, I don't think that those two will meet um, in a timetable that makes sense to be a contender. You have to be willing to go out and get these players in free agency. And I just don't think that they're willing to do that. So maybe it is the best thing to part ways with Micah Parsons and kind of restart the clock on who you want to pay. And maybe you do invest in a quarterback eventually and have him in the wings like a Packers organization has done so many times in the past.
Yeah, Kyle, I know you had some thoughts on Micah Parsons and trading him and all that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I like to look to the other teams in the league that are really, really successful. Obviously, you could look at Kansas City and Philadelphia last year. Neither of them really had a premier pass rusher. And I know it's not as simplistic as saying, oh, they don't have a Micah Parsons, so you could win without a Micah Parsons. But
Mhm.
I just think the way that today's NFL is structured, I think it's more about interior pressure, like I said before, strong interior offensive line play, and pretty much elite quarterback play. I think if you have those three things at your disposal, I don't think you need a premier pass rusher like Micah Parsons. Not that obviously he's an amazing, rare talent, a generational talent, but you look at guys like Myles Garrett, Max Crosby. Obviously, those are teams that don't have quarterbacks right now, but they have elite pass rushers, and I can't remember the last time the Raiders or the Browns made the playoffs. So all I'm saying is it's not like he has a necessity to playoff success because he's been on these teams, the three straight years that McCarthy went 12-5. They falter in the playoffs, and I'm obviously not blaming Micah solely for that. But in terms of value that you can get for a player where he is in the prime of his career, if that would allow you to shore up the interior defensive line, which has been sorely needed for well over a decade. Just look at what has happened in the playoffs versus the Niners both times,
Mhm.
against Green Bay a few years ago, and even against thinking about another playoff game. But anyway, the Rams when the Rams ran all over us with C.J. Anderson. It's been sorely needed. It's been a glaring need for almost a decade now, and it's never been addressed. So I think if he guarantees a few first round picks to a team that's not going to be drafting normally in the 20s, then I would consider it. But if you do draft him to a team like Green Bay,
Yeah.
you have to assume Green Bay is going to be winning at least 9 or 10 games. Who knows? They might win the division this year. So a lot comes down to who you're getting those picks from. If you're talking about a team like Tennessee or Las Vegas Raiders, then I might be thinking about it. But if it's a team like Green Bay, where you might get a few first round picks in the 20s, and maybe a few second round picks, I'm probably not going to take that deal. I'm probably just going to ride it out with Micah. As unhappy as he's going to be, they do have him for a max of 3 years. I added up the numbers. If you franchise him twice, and you obviously let him play out this year for about $24 million, you're paying about $82 million for 3 years, and that's straight against the cap. You can't restructure, obviously. You can't mess around with those numbers. That's a direct hit on the cap. So with the cap situation that they're in now, with paying Dak as the highest paid quarterback per year, obviously the CeeDee Lamb contract, you pay guys like Ferguson, that would be a challenging task for them to kind of work around that the next 2-3 years. So, man, it's almost like it's gone to the point of no return now with Micah. And I don't know if that's just their camp kind of, using whatever leverage they feel like they have with removing stuff on Twitter, things like that. That might just be a leverage play from them. Who knows? We don't, like you said, Dylan, we don't know what's going on in these conversations behind the scenes. But if it is to the point of no return, then you have to consider it. But then, again, you have to look at the team that is offering the trade. If it's a Green Bay, then I'm probably going to pass on that. If it's a team that you feel pretty confident that they're going to be picking in the top 10 or even top 15, and that allows you to get an elite defensive tackle, blue chip player, and even a quarterback of the future, you have to strongly consider that.
A big run by Maffa there. That was a really nice run. Regarding the Micah situation, our window right now is the rest of Dak's contract. So from now until the year of 2029, so 2025, 26, 27, 28. But we don't really think 25 is a real contentious year for us. We're not really going to be contenders this season. So you got 26, 27, 28. So that gives you 3 years. So I asked the question, does trading Micah and getting those draft picks, does that put you further or closer to a Super Bowl under Dak Prescott in the Dak Prescott window? I guess it depends on your picks and who you're grabbing, but that's a big gamble to be able to grab enough guys that equal the talent that Micah Parsons has and to make the difference as a group that Micah Parsons makes as an individual. So I would just be concerned that you're distancing yourself from being a contender in this short 3-year window that you have with the remainder of Dak Prescott's contract. Because if you miss on those picks, right, and you traded away really a once-in-a-generation player, well, you just really hurt your team for the remainder of Dak's contract, the remainder of Dak's time here. You've basically shut your window, essentially, or closed it significantly. So that's my worry. That's my concern in trading him. I don't necessarily trust the team, as good as they are drafting, at getting the equivalent talent that you have with Micah.
Yeah, and Kyle has a really good point about the draft capital that you would get from a Packers organization versus a Raiders or somebody like that. Like when the Raiders traded Khalil Mack to the Bears were a trash team. Like they had a lot of incentive to do that because not only were they not ready with a quarterback, but they also saw, hey, the Bears could be really bad and we could get, top 10 picks out of this trade, But with the Packers, you're talking about one of the better quarterbacks in the league. They finally spent a first-round pick on a wide receiver. He could be really good. Who knows? But they've got a running back there. They've got a pretty solid defense, especially if they added Micah Parsons. Like you're talking about definitely a team that could contend. And with that, you're shooting for possibly a 24, 25, 26th overall pick. And then, who knows what happens in the future after that year. But yeah, it just wouldn't be worth it to me because when you do draft analysis, usually you're going with maybe anywhere from like 13, 14, all the way up to, and better drafts, like 20 true first round grades. So at that range, you're not even getting a true first round player that you're presumably going to replace Micah with. And I know that you have some pieces. Sam Williams, he's not Micah Parsons. Donovan Ezraku, he's not Micah Parsons. Like, you've got some pieces in the building, but nothing to the extent of what Micah is. And it looks like the Cowboys just scored a touchdown right there. Actually looking pretty good in this preseason game. I actually had them losing all 3, so I'm pretty surprised they're actually winning this one.
But what do you think that losing a player like Micah, and even though you're gaining, I feel like making a trade like that of just an absolute stud player in his prime, I feel like that's a move you make when you're in a true rebuild. This team is not there. It's a top heavy team. We talked about it. They're very top heavy. They need the lower tier and middle tier players to fill in the depth. And not a ton of them, but they need a decent amount. But they did a good job this free agency period, and they did a good job, I think, in this draft. We'll see about this draft class in 2025. But I think they've done a good job at taking a step with what they've done. Now, I think if they keep the majority of their pieces, right, the meaningful pieces, keep their star players like Micah, I think they're literally one offseason, one draft away from being a legitimate contender potentially. And so does trading Micah Parsons advance that, or does that take them back a step, I guess is my whole thought process.
I mean, it definitely takes them back a step because of the capital that you'd get back, and then you already have your quarterback that you want to ride into a Super Bowl with, presumably. So you can't trade away pieces. In fact, I would say go the opposite spectrum and trade for pieces that
Sure,
are
yeah.
actual pieces, not
Right.
the Mingos, not the Kenneth Murrays,
Like a
not the guys
defensive
that nobody
tackle,
else
right?
wants.
A meaningful defensive tackle would be a great trade.
Exactly.
Been waiting for it for
Somebody
years.
that is on another team that doesn't have the quarterback in place, but is willing to trade to you. And that's what the Cowboys really need to do, especially with like a second round. Like, how many second round picks have we missed on recently?
Sure.
Reaching
Yeah.
for, injured guys or whatnot. Like, that pick is not as valuable as it was back in 2016, 2017, 28. Who knows if those years were even good. I'm just off the rip. But that is where you can find some value. And that's kind of why I thought that the George Pickens trade was kind of opened up some things, because
Yeah.
if this works out to the same degree that the Amari Cooper trade worked out for us, it can be big for this offense, but you need to counteract that with something for the defense. Inject a little bit of fuel in this defensive side of the ball, because right now, presumably we'll see what happens with Trayvon Diggs, but I am fully anticipating him being traded if he is starting in this season sometime before the trade deadline, or after that he probably will get released. We'll see, but I just don't think that they're committed to him fully. And then you've got Bland, who still needs paid. Osa, you paid, great. The middle of the defense, we'll see what happens with the linebackers they brought in, but I'm just not overly optimistic on any of the pieces other than Micah and Bland. Those are my two guys that I actually think are difference makers. Osa, you can say like, hey, he's on the up and up, and he had a really nice season last year, but I don't know that he's like a blue chip talent
Yeah, I'm
to
with
that
you on that.
degree. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he lacks in the run defense department. And to be fair to him, he hasn't really played with a good running mate on the inside. So unfortunate there.
Yeah.
But he's one of the worst rated run defensive players in the inside defensive line in the NFL. So he's kind of a one-trick pony in that regard. So yeah, I'm with you on that front. Cowboys don't really have much on defense. And as far as trading him goes, I mean, he's not going to be here next season, one way or the other. I don't see him. There's too much bad blood there, and it doesn't really negatively affect the team to release him
pieces of the pie either,
monetarily. I mean, what happens? I know it's not a big cap charge if they release him. I mean, what is the deal? Do they get money back if they release him?
Pulled up, but I assume that the money that they would save from a Trayvon Diggs deal would go straight to Bland, because I think that they like Bland a lot more. I think that he's one of their guys. And just going to the Star and touring it recently, I saw Ferguson up on the big banner. It had 6 players. Ferguson was one of those guys, and Bland was one of those guys, and Osa one of those guys. Like some random player. Like I was like, why are those guys up there? And I kind of took note of it, right? And then Osa got paid, and I think this was right after Osa got paid, actually. But Ferguson wasn't paid yet, and Bland still isn't paid. So we'll see what happens with those contracts. But I think that those guys being up there is no coincidence, and I think that those guys are going to get paid eventually. And obviously, it happened with Ferguson. So we'll see. But I think that they want these guys that want to be here. And I just don't think that Diggs really cares if he's wearing a star on the side of his helmet.
So after this season, his money is not guaranteed anymore. So this was the last season he had any guarantees. So they actually save, it looks like, if I'm doing my math right, they save about 12-ish million next year on the cap by cutting him. So
but if you could offload him at the trade deadline, like that would be ideal.
Absolutely.
In my opinion. And you've already kind of took on that philosophy of the Eagles' idea of, hey, let's get our guy before we technically need him, in Ravel. And Ravel was high up on my draft board, so we'll see what happens with him. But I don't anticipate him really being ready for the start of the season. So how much
Yeah.
can you really rely on that? That's kind of why I'm surprised that Gilmore is not in the building right now, because I felt like they would be less optimistic about where their cornerback room is. And if you're relying on a Andrew Booth um, come actual real regular season, I just think that's a recipe for disaster.
Yep. Or any of those guys that are going to play on the inside, really. I mean, when you look at what they have on the outside, if you were to bring in a Gilmore, you can slide Bland hypothetically into the slot. Now, the only issue, he's in a contract year. So does he really want to play in the slot for any games during a contract year? Probably not. Would he and be a team player? I think so, but he might not be happy about it. But that's why Dallas probably, if they were to pay Bland and bring in Gilmore, right? Well, now everybody's happy and we're good to go. But I don't think Bland's getting paid at this point until next season.
Yeah, if you trade Diggs during the season, it opens up about $9.1 million in cap savings. It's only about $3 million in dead money. So, the incentive is there if you did want to do it during the season.
Yeah, I can't remember who told me this, but they were trying to shop Diggs last trade deadline. And I don't know what happened with it, or if they had the injury stuff kind of leaked or whatever, but they were trying to get rid of him last year. I actually think it was Brian Broaddus that brought this up, and then somebody reminded me of it. But yeah, so if that's the case, and then now the bad blood that's happened all off season with those two, the organization and Diggs, it almost seems like it's a foregone thing that's going to happen. We'll see if anybody is even interested in Diggs, though. You know what I mean? He kind of has been labeled that guy that is an interception hunter, which can be good if you're in the right system and you have the pass rushers in front of you. That can be a great thing. You can get a lot of interceptions, help your team get short fields. But also, we've seen the other side of that, where those double moves do come into effect, and you're giving a 70-yard touchdown up. That's a big deal. So we'll see what kind of capital you can get back, and I don't anticipate it being a lot, because that's kind of how the trade deadline works. Is you're offloading a contract, and you kind of see like, this guy, we don't have future plans with him. We might as well get some capital back. But who knows? I think that it's pretty evident, though, that they like Bland more than Diggs.
And I think that's kind of the risk you take, at least for this year, because I think the Cowboys feel pretty confident when they get healthy at corner. It's probably considered one of the deepest positions on the team. So if you have a team that is in contention, like you mentioned at the trade deadline,
yeah,
maybe they keep Diggs and then they just ride it out and they cut him next year. But if they're, who knows, they have 4 or 5 wins at the trade deadline, maybe they consider moving him, like you said. If they have Rebel back healthy and they like what Carson's doing and Elam continues to impress, then maybe, that's a player that they could get rid of. But my concern is, if you're so limited on the defensive line, specifically interior wise, you need to be able to cover really well. So if you're going to have, that deep depth at corner and you're going to be kind of thin at defensive line, now you're depending more on coverage and giving time for the defensive line to get home if it's a third down situation. So you can't be thin in the secondary and at the defensive line. This is assuming that we're competing this year. If they're not a competing team midway through the season, then I think you consider trying to get maybe a mid-round pick for him, like maybe a 5th. I don't know. I don't know what his value is right now. If it's 2022 Trayvon Diggs, then you probably get a 2nd or a 3rd, right? But he's not that player anymore with the injuries he's had. But yeah, I think it all comes down to if they're competing at the midway point. I think we would expect them to. I don't, they're top heavy. As long as they stay healthy, I think they'll be in the hunt. So
yeah, and especially with the third place schedule too. Like, not enough fans actually take that into account, and that actually helps a dramatic amount. Just playing those teams that are really, not the best in their division. So I think that I'm just not overly inspired by the back half. Like, Malik Hooker's kind of getting up there in age. I thought he was going to be a lot better last year. I kind of projected a lot for him last year in that system. But it just it just didn't work out. Donovan Wilson, he was called out by Micah Parsons, on that Ravens game. There's just a lot of uninspiring work back there, and then the injuries to the cornerback room as well. Once, presumably people get healthy with Ravel, with Carson. I mean, maybe I'm just overly looking into what Kyrie Elam has done in practice and the preseason game, but he's actually looked decently good enough. So if you do, let's say Ravel comes back and you do have Bland on the outside, or Elam is on the outside and Bland's on the inside, doesn't really matter. But if those three guys are looking good enough where you feel like, hey, we can kind of recoup some of this capital with the Diggs trade, I think you got to pull the trigger, because that might be the last time you can offload him for any type of value, especially if it's from a team that is kind of looking to contend. That's where you see a lot of those deals coming down is, hey, we're having a good season, but we need that one extra piece that will push us over the top. And so we'll see what happens with Diggs, but overall, just not overly inspired by the defense in general, and that's kind of where I'm looking to either make a big splash play and go find a defensive tackle that can dramatically change what you do interior defensive line wise, or if not, then kind of offloading some of these guys that I'm not overly optimistic on later in the season, which would be that Trayvon Diggs, a Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson. I know that he got paid recently, and it hasn't worked out. And I don't know if he has any value, but like, he is a Dan Quinn guy. You know what I mean? Who knows? Maybe the Commanders are in the position where they're like, ooh, hey, let's go get one of these guys that I really liked whenever I was coaching in Dallas. So who knows? I think that, if it comes down to another injury for Dak Prescott and Joe Milton has to get in there and play, I think that I like that way more than I like the Cooper Rush at backup quarterback, because Milton's actually bad enough that he's going to lose games, and Cooper Rush is not. So you're looking at a lot better draft pick if that's the case. But if Dak stays healthy and balls out, you're probably in the playoffs with that third place schedule. So it goes both ways. So I think it's really hinging upon what Dak Prescott can do, and he has the receivers to do it this year. So we will see.
Yeah, we got to give credit to the front office for that Pickens trade too, because that completely revamped my outlook for this season offensively. It helps obviously Dak.
Yeah.
It helps the receiver room. When we had Tolbert at number 2, it's like, wow, like who is going to step up and figure this out? Now they all move down a slot, and it's like, okay, who are we going to keep on the field at this point? Like, we got all these guys now. It just looks so much better than it did previously. And not only does that help the run game, right, but it feeds off of each other. So having Pickens and CD on the field with Ferguson and all these guys, Turpin, that's going to help the run game. You invested also in the interior offensive line. So a better run game also helps Dak and the receivers. So it's like a whole solution just improved offensively just by making one move. And so when we say that on the defense, what could one move do for this defense? When you talk about adding somebody to the defensive interior, you could potentially make one move that makes everything just look and feel so much better than it does right now. Because going into the season, your defensive interior is not going to be very good. We all know that. And the secondary, at least to start the season, is not going to be very good. So improve one of the positions somehow, some way. Figure out a way to improve one of the two spots, and let's get this thing going. But you can't have weaknesses at both heading into the season, which is where they're at right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the one caveat to that is, at least to me, it's kind of rare that you see elite interior defensive linemen get traded. I think Leonard Williams was the most recent one, I think, from, was it Seattle? I forget, but you don't really see him a lot. I mean, I think that's mainly because teams realize how hard it is to find solid players in the interior. So I think if that's going to happen, I think that would happen around the trade deadline as well, for a team that isn't competing, that wants to, get a higher draft pick, whatever the situation may be. And that's where I get to see, okay, if the Cowboys, if they feel like they're a player away on the defensive line, if the passing game is going great, Dak's having a great year, they have a winning record, then maybe you throw a second round pick, because with the Pickens trade that you guys just talked about, it's really a win-win because if Pickens balls out, they might get that third round pick as a comp pick back next year. So you really didn't lose anything, and you get his services for a year. Maybe it's only a fourth, but still, there's a chance that you get that pick back. So, it really comes down to what kind of team they are this year. If we expect them to have, leaky problems with their run defense again, but if all the other pieces kind of fall into place with the passing game, pass defense, they got to hold up early on because they're banged up at corner. But if they just hold it together enough to be in contention where they feel like, hey, let's go for it. We don't like the prospects in the second round next year. Maybe we're going to trade down in the first round anyway, get that pick back maybe. So they probably take that into consideration too. What is the draft class like for next year? Is it deep in the second round? Is the value more in the first round or the mid rounds, whatever? So I think they take all that into consideration when they're thinking about trading a premier pick like that. So if the D tackle trade's going to happen, I think it's going to be around the trade deadline because teams, they want to all think that they're going to be in somewhat contention. So they're not going to just trade away a premier, interior defensive line early on in the season. But if we get to week 6, week 7, I would see this possibility.
Yeah, and I guess the move I'm talking about more so is the Gilmore that we mentioned before. It's not really trades. It's more so adding a guy. There's going to be guys that are going to be cut that you can maybe add in the defensive interior that are better than what you have. But, probably going to be just more of the same. But you can go add right now, today, Stephon Gilmore and make this cornerback room better, not only for the short term, but for the long term. You add depth there in case of injuries, which all of these guys have injury concerns. So you have that guy for a year, to potentially help with that. But now you can slide Bland inside. He might not be happy about it in a contract year, like I said before, but at least you can do that temporarily until you get some of the healthy guys back, and you can go from there. But that at least solidifies potentially the pass defense. So you don't have to worry about both your pass defense and your run defense to start the season, which both are a huge, for me, it's a massive concern. I don't love our safeties. I don't love our cornerbacks past number 1, really, because I don't know what to think about Elam at this point. We'll see about him. But anybody past that number 1 spot, I'm very concerned about.
Yeah, one thing about that Pickens trade that I will give the front office credit for is they knew that the Pittsburgh Steelers had a redundancy in DK Metcalf after they traded for him and George Pickens. And because of that, they knew that they would have that in their back pocket if they missed out on Tet. And that's exactly what happened. They took Tyler Booker, and the rest is history. And like Kyle mentioned, it's not one of those things where it's a whole lot of capital, because you can recoup that with the comp pick the year after that. So I loved that trade, and I will give them credit for that, but it's not enough. You got to go find that defense tackle. You got to go find somebody that can seriously help your team. And I don't know if that's a guy that's kind of in the wings, like a Gilmore or Asante Samuel Jr. or whoever that is, kind of that can help the cornerback room, or if that's trading for like a legit defensive tackle. But something like that just injects a little bit more to this defensive side of the ball, I think can go a long way for this team. Do I truly believe that one player can turn this team from 0 to hero? Probably not. But it can go a long way, and maybe you do have a giant-esque run in the playoffs where you're you're a lower seed, but you just get hot. You know what I mean? So that's realistic, and all it takes is your quarterback playing at an elite level, and then your defense being good enough.
Yep, no doubt. So the game just wrapped up. Cowboys win 31-13. Let me get you guys' thought, I guess, on, let's look at all 3 preseason games heading into week 1 against the Eagles. What are you guys' thoughts on what you saw maybe throughout training camp and into the preseason here? Give me maybe just a couple of names of guys that stood out to you.
You go ahead and take it first.
Sure. Well, I think receiver has been as deep as it has been, I would say, since the 2021 season with Cooper and Lamb. Pickens has made, it seems like to be a miraculous catch every practice. So I feel really good about the passing game. I'm excited to see a healthy Ferguson get back, because he seemed to be Dak security blanket since he's come in the league. So I think having a healthy Ferguson combined with a legit 1-2 punch at receiver is something that this team is sorely needed for almost 5 years now. I'm very encouraged by the interior offensive line, and obviously we don't know a lot about Booker just yet. He's had some struggles early on in camp, but he's a player that you expect to keep getting better as the year goes on. So I think having him playing next to BB, who has another year under his belt, had a really good rookie season, and obviously you have an All-Pro and Tyler Smith next to him. So I love how they're addressing the interior offensive line, keep Dak upright, have him more confident as a player, make the throws that he needs to make, and you could deal with what you need to deal with at tackle. I think you can get by there at least. The defense, like we just talked about, I'm very concerned about that interior wise. I think they mainly loaded up on defensive end because they had such cluster injuries at that position last year. It's kind of rare to lose so many players at one position like they did. And I think that was magnified when Micah got hurt. That's why you saw such a discrepancy in EPA, all those statistics with Micah versus without Micah, because you didn't have a D-Law, you didn't have Nealon, you didn't have Sam Williams. But now they kind of loaded up there where they're kind of just playing a little bit safer with the position. Nealon's back. Obviously, you have Fowler, who had a bunch of sacks last year for Washington. They're hoping Sam Williams becomes a player they wanted him to become. It's a second-round pick. And then you have guys, obviously, like Ezraku, who they have high hopes for, and James Houston, I think, is going to make the roster. So they went from a position that was, really hurt last year to one of the deepest positions on the team. So a lot of question marks with the defense. I think one thing that they have to rely on early on in the year are turnovers. I mean, last year they were not good in turnover rate. I believe it was 2022, they were second in turnover differential, and in 2021 they were first. So the way to negate some of the talent issues you have in the defensive line and the secondary early on is you have to generate turnovers. So if they do that early on in the season and play disciplined ball, adapt to Eberflus's scheme as time goes on, I think they can negate some of the personnel issues they have early on. But they have to get turnovers early on in the season before they get the guys back at corner at least.
Yeah, and how they're going to do that is putting up some points on offense and letting your pass rushers get in that backfield, stack the quarterback, put some pressure on the quarterback, get some fumbles, and force some bad balls out, right?
Yeah, that's what they did in 2023. That was the recipe for they jumped out early. They got double-digit leads, and then the defense kind of took advantage of that. So in terms of individual players, I didn't see a lot of Childress tonight, but I would probably give him the edge in terms of the nickel, assuming they don't slide Bland in. Now, when Diggs comes back and Ravel comes back, I'm assuming they would slide Bland inside, and they would have the taller, lankier corners on the outside. They would have Elam and, either, Diggs, or even when the Josh Butler comes back. I think they want those guys playing on the outside. And I think Bland gives you that versatility. That's why he is a valuable player for the team, and they'd like to resign him. So I think you have some flexibility there at corner once they get healthy. I'm excited about the linebacking core. I think this is low key the best linebacking core we've had, even without Overshown. I would say, since they had Van Der Esch, Sean Lee, those guys. So I think they can do really well. And Eberflus has a history of really, really having a strong linebacker group. So there are certain aspects of the defense that I'm excited about, but, they're so banged up with injuries right now that it's hard to get, optimistic about it. But at least there are pieces to where when they get healthy at corner, at least that gives them a chance, as long as they're getting
It's going to be interesting to see if teams, they look at this team and say, all right, these guys have a weakness at defensive tackle, so let's line up, let's go heavy, and let's try and run the ball right up the gut, right, and take advantage of the middle of this defense. Or they see these linebackers and say, okay, this is one of the strengths of their defense, so let's line up, 4 wide, single back, and spread these guys. I get them in nickel and dime packages, so they don't have all these linebackers on the field, right? Isolate down to one linebacker, and now you've just kind of eliminated one of the Cowboys' strengths on defense. And they see these corners and say, well, they're pretty hurt, they're pretty banged up, so let's attack these corners maybe with some spread out formations. EJ, let me go to you. What do you think about maybe maybe want to respond to Kyle or give us some strengths of what you saw this preseason?
Yeah, I agree with his breakdown of the wide receivers and just adding our guy Pickens in there. I think that the edge, we got to see it from these younger guys, but on paper it does look really good. And then we'll see what happens with Micah. of course. I think Eberflus is definitely going to get the best out of these linebackers in general. And I think that Sanborn picking him up, and we'll see with what Murray has, in his tank. He's a guy that hasn't been overly impressive during his stint in the NFL, but maybe he could be something. And then Damone Clark, if he can actually develop under an Eberflus that is kind of a linebacker guru, that could be good and kind of revitalize his career. But overall, I'm not super bullish on this defense overall. I've said that plenty of times, but um, I'm interested because Israel Mukwamu's third on the depth chart as that nickelbacker. We'll see. I actually kind of think that he's been one of the better players in the preseason and kind of played himself onto this team and new coaching staff and whatnot. So, nobody's completely tied to any of these players, but he's a guy that I would like to keep around because of his flexibility, can play some safety, can play some corner as well. Yeah, just the overall vibes I've got from training camp were structure and um, a mentality of I want guys to want it from Brian Schottenheimer, and that's a good thing. That's a culture building thing. But I will say I have not been overly impressed in what he's shown from an offensive standpoint. Um, I know that he said "Hey, we're gonna kind of come back to the roots. We're gonna run this thing through the running attack and figure out the rest." But based on what they've done in free agency and the draft, I don't see how that can be the possibility at all. I think you have to lean on Dak and you have to use, those quick hitters to the outside as kind of the extension of the run, because I don't think that you're going to be able to run it as good as you think you are. Now, they have built up the interior offensive line, as he mentioned, and that's a good thing. It helps Dak being able to step up into his throws and get his rhythm down. But does it translate to the offensive run game actually popping off in the inside? We will see, especially with Javonte Williams and Jaden Blue. I'm not overly bullish on either of those guys being interior runners, but we'll see. Overall, my biggest thing that I think is you can chalk it up to presumably we should be better is the wide receivers and getting healthy on the edge, and the linebacker core looks a lot better than last year. Does that translate to actually getting stops when we need to? We will see, because the coverage aspect of these guys on the outside getting banged up is it's not good right now. So whereas cornerback was maybe a strength, and I won't even call it a strength last year, but you felt good, or better at least last year than you did going into this year with all the injuries of that secondary, and you felt really bad about your linebacker core. Now those two positions have kind of flip-flopped, where you feel a little bit better about your linebacker core, but the corners are just troublesome. And especially with you throw in Donovan Wilson, a guy can't cover, he couldn't cover me with a blanket. So it comes down to if this defense can actually get turnovers, like Kyle mentioned, if this team can actually get some stops and keep them within striking distance. Because if you allow Dak Prescott to stay in the game, he can go win you a game against a good defense. We saw it last year in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has a really good defense, and I guess it was kind of aided with Watt coming out of that game late in the game, but he did drive us down the field and get us that win that we desperately needed at that time to keep us afloat. I think we were 2-3 at that point. So yes, we know Dak can do it. It just comes down to if the defense can stop the bleeding during the games, and they've got some tough matchups early on in the season, but we'll see.
Yeah, and it just recent memory, so I could be wrong, but it just feels like any time at all where the offense was maybe a little bit stagnant, it was just the defense couldn't stop a single thing, right? So if the offense isn't putting up points, it's like the defense is just letting the other team go down, and all of a sudden Dak Prescott's pressing and he's throwing interceptions, and now it's compounding. Other guys are making mistakes, and it's all this compounds into these blowout losses. You saw it against the Ravens, the Saints, all these games. You saw it the previous year, late in the season, right? Like the Packers and the Bills in those games. And not every week you're going to be able to put up 30, 40 points, right? Some weeks you're going to get off to a slow start and score 7 points in the first half, right? Some weeks you'll score 3 in the first half. So can the defense step up and just do anything, right, to slow down the opposing team. We haven't seen it in 2 years really in that
But
situation.
I guess my biggest like question mark is actually trusting in Brian Schottenheimer as a head coach. I'm on record where it's like, yeah, this guy is a great talker, and he kind of gets you a little bit hyped up, and he's feeding you that hope. Um, but you can only do so much talking. Like you get into the season, you start 0-3, you lose to the Giants and the Eagles,
Mm,
and then who's our third game? The
Sure.
Bears. So
yeah.
let's say you start 0-3, like there's more than just panic starting 0-3 against those three teams. Like if you lose to the Giants week 2, yeah, you got to put up or shut up, bud. Like uh, I I'm all for trying a coach that has not been a head coach before. That's we've tried the Mike McCarthy's, and we've tried these other guys in the past where it's like, okay, can we stop getting these retreads? But at the same time, I was kind of envisioning a young, up and coming, offensive minded head coach that's like that's what we need, right? And then we get stuck with Brian Schottenheimer, which I'm not trying to blast him right now, but I just wasn't overly excited about him as the head coach. But then he kind of brought something in that presser where it's like, okay, I can kind of get behind this, right? But how quickly do things become sour if they start slow? You know what I mean?
Oh, it becomes sour
I'm
quickly, very quickly. Yeah, I
Do,
mean, I like his energy, right? But there's more
yeah.
to this than energy, and we don't know yet. We'll see in the first couple weeks. I'm not going to judge him on week 1 or 2, but I think by week 3 we'll kind of start getting a good idea of what this football team is kind of about and what it's going to be.
did you guys see the Netflix documentary by any chance?
Not yet.
I haven't watched it. No.
I don't want to give too much away, but there's a recent clip of Steven in Jerry's office, and they're just talking in Jerry's office, and they're talking about what they look for in a head coach in the hiring process. And I'm assuming this is after they hired Schottenheimer. And Jerry essentially said, I'm just quoting verbatim, he said, I don't think it's about the X's and O's. And then Steven responds, he goes, I'm beginning to think that it is about the X's and O's. So maybe Jerry got wowed by Schottenheimer in the interview process, kind of like what probably happened with Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett had that similar charismatic personality, and he was a former Cowboy, and you have Schottenheimer, the son of the great Marty Schottenheimer, that was a great talker as well. So I think Jerry kind of not falls into the trap of charisma, but he just loves those personalities, those inspirational guys that could really
Yeah.
light up a room. And
Which is fine, but this guy shouldn't be calling plays. If he's a motivational guy, right, and he's not the
Yeah.
X's and O's guys, you can't have him calling plays. Now, I think he is. He obviously is an X's and O's guy as well. Is he a good X's and O's guy? I don't know. We'll see. But he knows his shit at least, so we'll see how he does in game situations. But I'm waiting for the day the Cowboys have a walk around motivational head coach that can go and pay attention to what the defense is doing and what the offense is doing, and not have to sit here and call plays and have the defense sit on the sideline and not go and communicate with them and figure out what's going on with the defense because you're stuck over here calling plays. I can't stand coaches, and I know some coaches do it well, so whatever, but I much prefer a head coach to be a walk around CEO type than a play caller myself.
Yeah. With me, it's like for like players, I want players that want to be a part of the Cowboys organization. But for coaches, I could give a rip if you actually want to be a Cowboys head coach or an Eagles head coach. I think that you got to come in and just be the best coach that you can be. Take it as a business opportunity for you to come in, implement what you can, and kind of put your stamp on the thing. Who cares about what team you're coaching for? There's 32 teams in the NFL. Each one is, I mean, obviously you don't get as much press with, low budget teams, but for the most part, I could care less if you are a Cowboys guy, like a Jason Garrett or like a Schottenheimer, somebody that's been around here. What I care about is a guy that's like, I could get fired at any point. I'm coming in here with a culture shift, with a clear vision as to how I'm supposed to construct this team. I need some power here, Jerry. I can't have you constructing the team and then me just figuring out the X's O's side. And I think that's the really big disconnect right now. Jerry doesn't want to give over, because quite frankly, I think that Sean Payton would have been the coach here if Jerry would have actually given that reins where like, yeah, you're in control of player personnel and stuff like that. But there's so many there's too many Chiefs right now. In regards to Steven, Jerry, um, the coaches, they want them to have to say, but not enough say to actually have um, a valid opinion where they can override Jerry. Um, it's just a cluster of Chiefs, and I think that there needs to be a clear vision of one coach or one GM that comes in here and just says, "This is how we're operating the system. Get behind me or get out of the building." And I don't think they're at that point with Jerry right now, and that's why I don't know that. Like, it's great to have those raw guys, Sirianni, the Dan Campbells, like those guys that are big characters, and they're not all just there for the X's and O's stuff. But that only really works if you have the players to do that. You know what I mean? And they don't have the players to do that right now. And so I don't know that Brian Schottenheimer is the guy that kind of gets him over the hump. And I think that starts from the top down, and it starts with Jerry Jones not wanting to give up control.
Right. If you have a Nick Sirianni, you better have a Howie Roseman as GM.
Yes.
Right.
And that there's clear levels to it. You understand Nick is the most expendable piece on that whole entire organization right now. And they had talks about releasing him, and it seems like, I don't know if he took a pay cut or whatever it was, or the play calling was actually taken from him. That's what it was. So to just stay there because he knew what it meant to be that coach and have those players and, win a Super Bowl. So he was willing to swallow his pride. But it seems like the Joneses aren't. And so I don't know. You got to figure out one of those guys that really feel like a fire's under their ass every single time they put their stamp on anything. And the Joneses are the GMs of this team, and also with that, they're the owner. So you're not going to fire yourself, regardless of what the fans say and making websites and all that hoopla. You're not going to fire yourself. And until he comes to the realization that we've got to get an actual GM under here that has some skin in the game, I don't think things are going to change.
Yeah, that's a deep conversation to be had for sure. I mean, we're stuck with Jerry for now, and Steven's obviously running a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and we'll probably be stuck with Steven for the foreseeable future until someday, many years from now, unfortunately. But yeah, this kind of is what it is. All right, guys, with that said, man, I'm going to wrap this up. Anybody in the YouTube chat, thank you all for joining us over on Twitter. Thank you all for sticking around, watching the game with us. So we have EJ Savage, Boys in the Zone over here on Twitter. He runs his own show. You want to give your stuff? I know you have a couple of different things going on. You want to give your stuff a shout out there, EJ?
Yeah. So Boys in the Zone is my YouTube channel. Also my Twitter. You can find it. That's with a Z, not a S. On the Boys in the Zone. But also I do run a kind of draft centric show. It's over on the Grid Network, which you can search that up, GRYD Network on YouTube. And we should have some episodes dropping mid-season or so, looking at some college prospects and whatnot, which is one of the more fun things for me to do at this point, because I'm not entirely optimistic about this Cowboys team, but you've heard me be the pessimistic guy, all chat and all video. But anyways, I am excited for the Cowboys season and just being able to watch football again and see these players get out there and do what they do. And I'm just here to commentate on it and say my pieces about why we're losing or why we're winning or whatever. So it's fun.
No doubt. And Kyle, we got Ashetti PTDPT over on Twitter. He's one of the members of our storyline community that we run for Nick Eatman from the Dallas Cowboys. We're in that community over on Twitter. We run spaces every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll be doing that during the season all year. Kyle, any parting words?
No, just excited for football to be back. This offseason seemed a little bit longer than usual. Maybe that was Philly, winning the bowl, but I'm just ready to have NFL Sundays again. And, it seems like when we feel like the Cowboys are down and out, sometimes they can surprise us. So I'm hoping it's one of those years.
Yeah, I guess that's all we can hope for. I guess hope for the unreasonable. All right, guys. Well, thank you all for joining us. And we will catch you next week, Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern over on Twitter. Check out